You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Claude from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it. Hits it.
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Yeah, as I was talking to Jake, I thought it was really disappointing last night. And I know you can look at the Michigan game or maybe Illinois or go all the way back to Iowa State. And I'm sure the Indiana game and Bloomington Boilermaker fans would be disappointed in that. But I thought last night, for me, maybe was the most. Because now is the time of year where situations against really good teams, and don't get me wrong, Michigan State is a really good team, but those situations were supposed to be set up for this Purdue team to thrive, and especially in Mackey, and be able to make plays with guys that have been well down that path to making plays before. And last night, they just couldn't get it done. And I know probably the ultimate fork was going down, 8 points, I think. A little under 4 to go, maybe around the 4-minute mark. I think they dipped under 4 at that point in time. So down 8. But then Purdue immediately came back, had a couple of 3-point makes, had that runner from Benter. But the play of the game, to me, where we're really going to look back, and this is the non-defensive end. This is the offense. And while I thought he added some things and he knocked down a 3 late, or I should say that runner late, I think he also hit a 3 late too, but Jack Benter, that deep 3 was pretty ill-advised considering the location on the floor and the other options you were going to try to present. It was almost like it was the first available, and it was like a mini heat check I felt from him. Now, if it goes in, they probably go on and win, and we're all incredibly happy and touting and singing his praises right now, and rightly so. It's not like he didn't play well or did not help, but in that moment, you felt, and I even think that Robbie Hummel alluded to it on the broadcast, is you probably could have found something a little bit better. Now, the thinking was with him is he's feeling good about his jumper. Yeah, basketball players know that to be true. When you're feeling good about it, he had a really good look. Michigan State all night, much like Michigan did what, everybody, that we talked with Dusty May about this time last week. They close out quickly and in control against Boilermaker jump shooters. And Jake had mentioned the game plan or the scouting routine being out. I think that is one. And Dusty and I talked about that last week with his guys at Mackey Arena, going back a week ago, Tuesday night, in their win with the controlled closeouts. And if you watched Michigan State last night, there was a great moment that was late in the second half when I think it was Scott that closed out in the corner after a nice skip, but closed out in the corner on Fletcher Lawyer. And he gave a pump fake. And normally, when Lawyer like that and you're out of control and you do a flyby, then a Lawyer can go off the dribble and has really a variety of options. He can kick it cross court with his skip. I'm assuming somebody over there is going to be wide open, whether at the time, I can't remember if it might have been Harris or Cox or maybe Braden Smith at the top of the key or elbow extended. Or, maybe a little two-man you can see with Trey Kaufman-Wren being on the interior, maybe a dive. I can't remember at the time if Clough was in there or what. But normally you have all those options because you create that. And part of that creation is because that defender does that out-of-control flyby. Well, Michigan State didn't do that last night. Michigan State didn't do that at the moment. And if you watch, not only did they check up on Lawyer's jumper, once he threw on the head fake and tried to go around, it was such a controlled closeout that the defender, I think it was Scott at the time, still had the opportunity to move his feet and keep Lawyer corralled. I think Lawyer ended up with a really tough try. They glanced off the backboard, didn't have much of a chance whatsoever. So I think that's what we have seen, certainly with Michigan State and Michigan. I will give this. Against Illinois, Purdue just got manhandled on the glass. And especially with Illinois doing that on the offensive boards. But the last two that I'm talking about here, between last night, Michigan State and Michigan, it has been more about what I think defensively both teams have done in terms of being able to squash what Purdue does offensively really well. And it's been few and far between against good teams where Purdue gets in a lengthy run. I know you're going to say, well, they did it against IU. Well, you saw IU, Zach, last Friday. Then you saw it again at home against Northwestern. So I don't know if that would qualify. These two teams, Michigan State and Michigan, certainly would qualify because that's how, if you're Purdue, you feel you want to be judged or you should be judged, or you're probably hoping that they're judged by you. But the Boilermakers aren't there right now. The Boilermakers aren't there. And then to really compound the issue of last night, those late game situations, and the reason why you have these guys and they were so highly touted this season is for moments like that. Being down 2 and getting the ball in the interior. I know PJ called that play out of the timeout. They got exactly what they wanted for Trey Kaufman-Wren. He was just a little bit long on the jump hook. He back ironed the jump hook. Normally that thing is as good as gold. Normally you feel incredibly good about that. They had a couple of different opportunities, even beyond when Jack Benner took that three. That was an ill-advised shot. It was. That you find something better at that particular moment, don't you? Yeah, I would think you do. Pretty ill-advised. But that being said, you just look for your guys to make those plays, and last night those guys were unable to make those plays, whether you're talking about Braden or Trey Kaufman-Wren, Fletcher Lawyer. Now, we have seen Purdue as a team get picked up a couple of different times by C.J. Cox, for example. Maybe sometimes with Harris. And we've seen teams continuously pick at matchup-wise, getting Clough on guys that Clough can't guard if they get away from him. And that is the end result. There's a great deal of disappointment right there. And I don't blame you, Boilermaker fans, for being disappointed. Don't get me wrong, it's still a good team, but I think everybody expected much better than a really good team. And clearly they're either still searching for that, or maybe it's something they simply don't have, and you have to try to manufacture something else. I just felt last night there were a lot of moments in the game, especially when you were down 8 late and you come back. There were a lot of moments in which the Purdue team that you expect would end up putting that thing away with a couple of late possessions, late scores, and a defensive stand. I don't know about anybody else. To start the second half, I was mortified when Cooper basically the same move twice. I think it was against Clough twice on the interior, just basically a little drop step turn. Knocked down a couple. Their bigs normally look pretty damn stiff. Didn't look as stiff last night per usual. But that was the type of spot where you feel really comfortable, or at least you did going into this season, really comfortable about the Boilermakers and the Boilermakers' chances of winning games. And last night, that certainly did not happen. Did not happen whatsoever. So we'll talk about that over the course of the afternoon. Chris Kramer, the former guard, is going to join us coming up in the 4 o'clock hour. I know that going back when they were going through a bit of a funk, and we felt like it was a funk, that was probably after the IU game, I would imagine. But I forget when it was. We had Chris on the show when he was an advocate at the time of a team meeting. I don't know about the team meeting stuff. This looks like that maybe this could be just in general stuff that would be etched in stone right now. And stuff that you may only find a solution for if you start getting more consistently hot from distance. But I'm telling you, both Michigan and Michigan State defensively, and we didn't even get into how they were handling, the pick and roll action. They were clogging up that, doubling on the ball. And the thing that stood out to me defensively more so than anything else from Sparty last night was Purdue is always so good about finding that open man when you bring somebody else. And there were a couple of moments. For example, Trey Kaufman-Wren, he had some great passes. One was one he didn't even look. He just kind of knew that he had somebody cutting off a double team. And I forget who it may have been Jacobson. I forget who it was for the layup, but found the open guy for the layup. But you saw a lot of those extra passes were being deflected, being tipped, or intercepted. And Michigan State moved about as well defensively and with the purpose off the ball as we have seen anybody. I don't know if Tom Izzo, their head coach, would write home about how great a defensive effort it overall was, but I thought certainly in moments, in those game-winning moments, they had more than an answer for what, for the most part, the usual protocol would be the Boilermakers taking full advantage of that. Unable to do so last night. That is open for full-scale discussion. Boilermakers, Ohio State coming up on Sunday. That tip time is at 1:30. IU's got Michigan State coming up on Sunday too. 3:45 is that tip time. So Michigan State coming off that win. Michigan State and IU coming up on Sunday. Pregame show with Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, 93 WIBC. That will begin around about 2:45 or so. Meantime, too, Butler, next up for Butler, I'm going to be actually over there on Wednesday. I'll explain that a little bit later on. We'll get into the rest of the weekend of college basketball. There is a fantastic game in the Big Ten later on tonight. Michigan and Illinois. What do they say? Do they still say get your popcorn? That's got to be old and done right now. Is that like kind of she's all that in a bag of chips? Saying wise, get your popcorn. Is that old and tired? Basketball wise, I'm not a big fan of college basketball on Friday night, but damn straight, I am a big fan of that. We'll hit up a little college basketball conversation at the top of the hour. I mentioned Don Fischer is going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour per usual. Chris Kramer, former Boilermaker, coming up at 4 today. And we've got Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk. Bob has a busy weekend because we are back-to-back coming up with 4 championship games. The Girls State Finals at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, very special Saturday. Class A, Borden, Fremont, 2A, Eastern Pekin, Oak Hill, Roncalli, and Belmont in 3A. Nightcap, Center Grove unbeaten on the season, and Norwell ousted Homestead, which I think across the state in 4A probably was everybody, at least north, everybody's selection of winning it all. And Center Grove has been all season long, every single game up to the task, and they do win in a variety of ways. They're a team that if something goes haywire one way, they can get you another, and they do play defense. I try to understand the defense often. It's some kind of amoeba-looking weirdness, but my God, it works. It will foul some things up. There's no doubt about that. They had a 29-26 win over Lawrence Central, and it was really defensively a struggle on both sides. And normally when you think about a 29-26 game, that's got to be boring as hell. What, did they hold the ball like they're in Greene County? No, they didn't. Yeah, the defense was stout. 4A should be fun coming up tomorrow night. We'll discuss that and more. Final regular season weekend for the fellas as well. Sectional play for the boys starts early next week. And it is, I don't know, just because we have sunshine, blue skies, 60 degrees, this is awesome out there today. The only thing that's missing would be me and you somewhere on a patio having some cocktails or some beers and talking sports. That's the only thing that's missing. And in fact, this is going to be the final Friday, thank goodness, for a long time in which I'm in the studio. The studio is really nice. As you can tell if you're watching via the AAA Membership Lounge YouTube Live, it is incredibly lit. 2 different ways, because this show is lit and because the lights have us lit. They want to turn this into they want to take advantage of the handsome, chiseled looks of your host right here and turn this into some sort of television show. But this is state of the art right here, but I can't wait to get out. It has been few and far between, and a day like today helps you reminisce about those days when you're constantly out. What else this does is gets you thinking about racing. IndyCar season starts coming up on Sunday. St. Pete IndyCar. Really this weekend, what thrills me the most is our good friend Kevin Lee of Fox and Kevin Lee of Trackside with Kevin and Kevin. His son Jackson is a part of the truck series. That's awesome. He's going to be wheeling a truck. If you've ever watched the truck series, I don't mind the truck series. So that's fun. IndyCar on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. And, of course, you can find that coverage and voice of IndyCar, voice of the 500, Mark Janes. He's going to be wheeling that around, too, to start the 2026 season. And if you've looked at the grid, those that have rides, those teams that are involved, the one thing that you notice is the weirdness of where willpower is located. That is going to be worth watching the entire year. In fact, hopefully it is worthy of how I'm describing it right now in terms of soap opera-like drama. Because, my God, that needs it. And I would also argue that NASCAR needs it, too. It's not like we're saying, well, NASCAR's great. It doesn't have any problem whatsoever. But no, a little bit of soap opera-like drama, I think we all should be down with that program. IndyCar starts coming up later on tonight. Or check that, Sunday. Last night, Pacers, Hornets, a good outcome if you want to see a bad outcome. And if you want to see guys run up and down the floor like it's the Hyper Building and score at will, that's what you basically saw with the Hornets last night. Dudes running up and down the floor and scoring at will. The loss, and at least as I checked this morning, no charges of tanking. And the fact that Obi came back for a couple of minutes last night fired me up. For the most part, the remainder of the season is what I'm going to care about the most in terms of what's going to happen with that deal and what's going to happen in the draft lottery coming up on Mother's Day. But last night, not a lot of defensive resistance, if you watch that from the Pacers. They get the Grizzlies coming up on Sunday. That is a pregame show at 4:30. 5 o'clock is the tip time right here on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. So we have a lot to cover, a lot of ground to cover over the course of the afternoon. I do find this funny. And this is how I've always talked about it. This is how I've always made an example of the believers and non-believers of Anthony Richardson. I swear to you, you can look it up. I think we have a story or somebody. All you have to do with the Anthony Richardson thing, it is so much like Caitlin Clark. If you just hashtag Caitlin Clark, and you're going to get all sorts. What do they call it? Harvesting or farming or I don't know. What nerdery do they call it online? All these dorks get together and come up with dorky terms. Hey, I think we'll call it farming. Ha! I think is it farming or harvesting or what the hell is it?
There's farming, there's engagement bait, there's a whole lot of terms about it.
Engagement bait. What a bunch of dorks. What dorks come up with this? We got to get these dorks out to a live show and introduce them to life and stuff. This is what the existence is about, nerds. Anyway, so you can engagement farm, as James just said, if you write anything Caitlin Clark, and you can do the same with Anthony Richardson. And especially if you just simply put up, hey, should the Colts trade Anthony Richardson? And what you're going to get, what you're going to find is pretty easy. What you're going to find is the younger generation, they put their hands up and go, man, you got to be kidding me. This guy is like that video game I played all night long with all my other buddies. This guy's just like a video game. I can't believe we're giving up on him. Look at all the quarterbacks that are young in the NFL or in their first year, second year, whatever, and they're younger than Richardson. I can't believe they're giving it up. That's the younger generation's thought. Yeah, the older generational thought is, you got to be kidding me, man. We've been hanging around for how long? This guy can't complete a stinking pass. Let's move on. So older generation has zero patience. Younger generation has all the patience in the world because Anthony Richardson to them looks like something out of a video game. That is so true. I will put it to you with a challenge to suggest that I am wrong in any way. Those, to me, are the eyeball dynamics, the generational dynamics of that. And I think it's easy to come down to. Older generation folks say, my goodness, you haven't won what? A division in how long? I can't sit around and wait for this dude to finally turn into some guy's video game wet dream in 5 years. I've seen enough. Done. Move on. Meantime, the younger generation is still holding on. Obviously, a member of the older generation, I feel this way. I feel that we have seen enough. And I feel that the chance that they took clearly didn't pay off, and it just frankly blew up in their face. And you want to move on. You want to move on to somebody. Think about how much more that they trust what they have in like a broken down, injured quarterback right now. Oh, you're still crossing your fingers and hoping. And I will say this, I hope for the absolute best for Anthony Richardson. I just don't know if they are ever going to find what they're looking for within him. Yeah, these years have been a while, even if you suggest he hasn't been given a legitimate shot. I think some people would suggest he was given a legitimate shot before he was really, truly earning that legitimate chance. Yeah, others would say, the moment that he decided to tap out was the moment he was done with his team. And while that also could be true, you can get past certain things if you do find what you believe to be your future elite level quarterback. And that guy, simply put, he wasn't it. But I will tell you this, much like I said about Benedict Mathurin yesterday, I hold no grudge. I hold no ill will. I hope he goes someplace, and I hope he finds what all these younger generational folks seem to think that he has within as a high-level NFL quarterback. I hope that he finds it. Now, we already know the issue with picking, selecting, decision-making, all the above. We know who to blame there. We know all of the suspects to blame. So, to me, I hope he goes someplace, and I hope he does thrive. And it's not because, hey, Chris Ballard has had it stuck to him already, and he still survives and moves forward. So, it's not that. There's no vendetta. There's no grudge or axe to grind. It's just, I don't have any bad feelings about Anthony Richardson, and I hope that he finds what, again, the younger generation believes that he has. Hope he finds a little bit of traction someplace. Because he's not, other than, tapping out or, not coming prepared, not showing up on time and all this stuff that it takes to be a professional. Clearly, he didn't have anybody around him that was capable to show him how to be a professional, which is also problematic. And that's almost as problematic, if not more, than just it being magnified on the young player anyway. So here's hoping, much like I feel about Benedict Mathurin going to the Clippers, playing well, I hope Richardson finds something, a spot, and does some of these things that people, I guess, just dream about because it hasn't happened. But I hope he finds something, and there is no doubt you gotta send him someplace. You send him someplace for him, you send him someplace for yourself, and you're going to go with Daniel Jones anyway. You're a lame duck group right now. And that's what lame duck groups are going to do. You're going to put everybody in. You got to go all in this year because maybe this will finally be it if you don't live up to the expectations. Just maybe. That discussion coming up at 239-1070. You guys sit tight. We'll come back with you. The stream, the app, it's HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Man, what a tomorrow it will be downtown in Indy. Bob Lovell will go over that with us. Final weekend of the regular season for the fellas. High school basketball sectional play for the guys begins coming up next week. That's in college and more with Bob Lovell, with Chris Kramer, with Don Fischer, and your chance to win some stuff. I'll explain coming back. Sunshine, blue skies, Central Indiana. That is a welcome sight, is it not? Late February. Thank you for joining the show. It's 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan. Got a great idea for you. Best in Realty. Here's that number. You may not need it right now. That's okay. It doesn't matter. I just want you to store that away. File it away for use at a later date when you do need it. Or if you do need it right now, let's go ahead and put the wheels in motion with Mark Dietel at 317-755-4232. That's markdietel.com. Mark, DIETEL.com today, because it doesn't matter. You may need it later on. I want to make sure you go with the best, whether it is right now, presently, or into the future. Mark Dietel is just that. No matter what your situation might be, growing the family, needing more space, needing more property, a bigger house, all that makes sense. 317-755-4232 is the number to call. Maybe you're empty nesting things. You don't need all that space, all that room. You're ready to go ahead and get something smaller, more manageable. Mark Dietel at 317-755-4232 will help you out there. In fact, Mark Dietel is the only real estate expert I trust and recommend with the sale of my home. Mark Dietel guarantees your home sold at a mutually agreed upon price and deadline, or he will buy it. Pick your move date. There are no long-term contracts, and you can cancel at any time. One more time, the number, the name, either write it down for present reference or future reference. It makes no difference, but always go with the best. That's Mark Dietel, 317-755-4232, markdietel.com, markdietel.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Attention, whoever you are, this channel is reserved for emergency calls only.
Lady, do I sound like I'm ordering a pizza?
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The 1990s. Tomorrow night, 6 till midnight. B105.7. House of Pain, James, going to be a part of that. Did anybody ever rock a U.S. Postal Service hat because there was a hat being rocked in that video? Nobody? U.S. Postal Service hat. There was a U.S. Postal Service hat and a Celtics 33 Larry Bird uniform.
I can bet someone probably rocked the 33 uniform.
I always bring this up. If I'm going to give you three, if I give you three rap / hip hop songs of that particular era, I'll give you three right now. I'll give you House of Pain, Jump Around. I'll give you Cypress Hill, Insane in the Brain.
Yep.
I'll give you Onyx, Slam. How would you rate all three? Rate me all three of the 90s, and maybe all three, and probably will get played coming up tomorrow night. How would you rate that?
I'd probably go Cypress Hill 1, Jump Around 2, and then Slam 3.
Gotcha. Makes perfectly good sense. To make this, again, generationally fair on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, Bob Lovell joins us from Indiana Sports Talk. So how would you rate, from 1969, Neil Diamond, Vanilla Ice, and Marvin Gaye, 1 through 3? I'm making this generationally fair for you, buddy.
Marvin Gaye 1, Neil Diamond 2, and whoever's third.
Vanilla Fudge, You Keep Me Hanging On. Don't you remember that song?
Well, my wife and I saw Marvin Gaye at Market Square.
Oh, man.
I was driving when you were talking about Teddy Pendergrass.
Yes.
I couldn't get I couldn't get to the phone quickly enough. We went to that one, and that one, John, same thing with Marvin Gaye. Ladies were lining up, going up to the stage to take off their undergarments and toss them on the stage. Lined up to get up to the stage. I can't make this up, my brother.
Let me tell you, that's how I've always had a vision of my live shows being. Like I go out somewhere.
I hate to disappoint you, but I don't see you in that category. No offense.
Pendergrass.
I wouldn't have believed it.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have believed it if I hadn't been there with my wife. And those guys, listen, those two particularly, they were fantastic back in the day.
Yeah.
I
think about, in terms of that particular genre of music, Marvin Gaye, Teddy Pendergrass, Barry White, and Lou Rawls. It is really hard to find anything of comparison to those four. Those are superstars of that category.
We saw Barry White, we saw Teddy, and we saw Marvin Gaye. And Marvin Gaye, listen, they were all good. I'm not sure who I would pick as number one. But they were tremendous, and the audience, especially the ladies, were just literally out of control.
Oh, that is well done for Bob Lovell. Always, even with the generational gap I created, the canyon of sorts I created on the inbound form right here is all over it. Per usual. I happen to think, and I know it's normally a special day here in sports in the state of Indiana, and also maybe I have a lean because Ron Colley and Center Grove are both involved. I think tomorrow, from top to bottom, from Class A through 4A, is going to be just a spectacular day at Gainbridge Fieldhouse.
I couldn't agree more. I think all year long we've all been talking about how balanced the different classes are, and I think, throughout the year, there might have been one class that might have stood out, and the others in terms of Borden. They're repeat champs. They're number one all year long. They're back in it again, but beyond that, I think it's been evenly played. There hasn't been a particular team in any of the classes, maybe as opposed to Borden, who have stood out throughout the year. I think the other part of this season, John, has been the absolute tremendous balance and tremendously talented ladies that we have in our state, and they're getting better and better and better.
The Borden-Fremont game gets us started in Class A. What do you know about that? Break down both those teams in that Class A final.
Well, Borden, again, has the experience of winning. They've been the preseason number one all year long. Everybody's expecting them to get back to it. You know, Fremont is as far northeast in the state as you can get. They don't get a whole lot of attention, but they won 28 games, John. I don't care who you're playing, what level you're playing. If you win 28-2, that's pretty substantial. And they are, you know, I think it's a team that clearly you have to give Borden the favorite pick because they are the defending champs. But I think this is a really, really great matchup to start with.
So Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk, he's got you covered on your preview tonight. Then obviously he'll take you through things coming up tomorrow evening as well with the outcomes and those who are a part of it coming up tomorrow night on Indiana Sports Talk. Bob's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. So Eastern Pekin, not to be confused with Eastern Green and Oak Hill.
No, yeah. Well, the 2A game, you know, much of what we said about the 1A, I mean, you know, the Eastern is 20-7, Oak Hill 24-3. I think these are two pretty evenly matched programs, quite frankly. It's just a situation where, you know, they have been picked highly by the people who know more about it than I do all year long. Oak Hill is a great defensive team. They only allow, you know, like 10 points. Their defensive scoring average is, you know, 29 points. And I think that'll get you in a championship basketball game. And I think that's the biggest thing. And can they continue to play defensively at that level against an Oak Hill team against a team that has played very, very well to this point. So, defense, one of the big strengths of Oak Hill going into this championship game.
Do we still, looking at the directional schools with Eastern up front of the name, do we still rank Eastern Green before Eastern Pekin? And is there an Eastern Howard too? How many Easterns do we have out there?
I think there is, but I think in deference to you and your stature as a superstar, you have to give EG the nod in everything. I know that's not even a fair question.
There's not. I mean, I know there's an Easterbrook, right? How many? I don't think. Are there any?
Eastbrook.
Eastbrook, yeah.
Eastbrook, yeah.
Yeah, Easterbrook was somebody in police academy. She was. My bad. That's it.
I understand.
It was I think that's Leslie Easterbrook, a really smoking hot chick back in the day. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't. How many Easterns are there in the state of Indiana? Do we know? Did I just name them all? There are more than that.
To be honest, I haven't sat down and counted.
Eastern Hancock. And what about Eastern Hancock? There's one.
Eastern Hancock is in it. Eastern Green. I don't know.
I know.
I mean,
bad question.
Once again, I'm unprepared for this.
No, bad question by the host of this show right here. I talked to Jason Sims a couple of days ago. Yeah, right. Obviously, this Roncalli team has been near the top in 3A all season long, and got so far a year ago and then took that final step now to get to the championship game against Belmont. And he's got a girls program down on the south side, absolutely rolling right now, Bob.
Well, he does, but I think if you look at it, that's the high school, and you know more better than I, is used to success on the fields and on the courts. There's a certain level of excellence that goes on with Roncalli, and certainly it's the same case with their girls basketball team. They are a tremendously talented team, but they're going up against the Belmont team, as I said about Oak Hill. It's a Belmont team defensively. They've been traditionally hard to score against throughout this year, and so it's one of those types of situations that gets kind of fun, quite frankly.
Yeah, no doubt. And then Center Grove. Also trying to get that final step and have an unbeaten season. And as I mentioned a little bit earlier, they do it in a variety of ways, but right. One of the most consistent ways and means they have to get a win is what they do defensively, because they are certainly hardcore on that end of the floor.
Well, they really are, and it seems to be a theme that we've talked about in these championship games. Teams that are here because they defend you, and Center Grove is in that category, and they really are. And it's no accident. It's not coincidental that they're here because they are a tremendously talented team, and they guard you. Norwell has played a difficult schedule up there in the Fort Wayne area, and they managed to survive it and get through. They similarly are solid defensively, so points are going to be hard to come by. You're going to have to do a lot of different things and good things to get to that point, which means that we're up for and expecting another great day of basketball.
Going to be great. You're right about that. Coming up tomorrow. Also, should note the final regular season week for the boys. A sectional play starts out next week. Do we have a Mr. Basketball front runner, or do you? I should say this because I'm asking you. Do you have a front runner in your mind right now?
I would think it would be Luke Ertl from Mount Vernon, if you were asking me my choice. So headed to Purdue, and he is tremendously talented. It's hard. It's hard to pick a Miss Basketball and a Mr. Basketball because there are so many talented kids in our state. But if I had to make one choice on the boys' side, would be Mr. Ertl from Mount Vernon.
Plenty of sense right there. He's got you covered later on tonight. That and got some college basketball preview going on. That's coming up on Sunday. Both IU and Indiana in action, and maybe a little bit coming from the combine because you got 9 former Hoosier players involved. And Fernando Mendoza met with the media a little bit earlier today, the former Hoosier quarterback and Heisman Trophy winner, and was as Mendoza can be, and completely understand with his talent and personality, you can understand why a team would make him the number 1 overall selection at the most important position in sports.
There's no question. And it's not coincidental that they won a national championship because you have a leader like that who does everything. I mean, on the field, off the field, does everything perfectly.
No doubt. Bob Lovell of Indiana Sports Talk. Later on tonight, tomorrow night, Network Indiana affiliation across the state. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Absolute pleasure, buddy. You have yourself a fantastic weekend. We'll do it again next week.
I'll look forward to it. Thanks, John.
That is Bob Lovell, Indiana Sports Talk on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. The Fan Invitational 2026 golf outing presented by Franciscan Health. Did you know, and you should, because we've all been telling you. Hey, by the way, too, I would draft Diego Pavia just on bravado alone, probably. Would you? I would draft him maybe to talk, but not to play. Can we do that?
Just want to hire him as a spokesperson, don't you?
Yeah, just draft him to talk and not to play. Anyway, Legends Golf Club. Hopefully you've heard about this from the morning show, from Jake, from me throughout the week. We're at Legends Golf Club with the awesome Ted Bishop. That is coming up on April the 30th, beginning at 10:30 a.m. Early bird special until March the 6th. That's $25 off per person, $100 off a foursome. Did you know? And I think we're going to give away prizes, meaning there's really no need to have prizes to give away because you guys aren't beating me anyway. But we're having the basketball shooting contest once again. Coming up this year. It went over so well last August. We are doing it again. And I am going to be in prime form for it and good to go. Plus a lot of golf, a lot of fun, some eating, some drinking, all for a great cause, all presented by Franciscan Health. And we open this up for you because you're our friends. Even if we had to go around with you once or twice, whether it's on the text line or on the phones or on social media, doesn't matter. We're all open for one hell of a time, and this is going to be one hell of a time. The Fan Invitational Golf Outing Early Bird Special now until Friday, March the 6th. So hustle it up. Get signed up. Actually, I want you to get signed up either individually or collectively with friends, and let me know you're signing up. And let me know that you want to be involved in this shooting contest because I want to scout who I'm up against. So let me know. But it is going to be an absolute blast. That you absolutely do know. April the 30th, Legends Golf Club in Franklin, 1075thefan.com. You can sign up today. 41 TD passes this past year. Fernando Mendoza in front of the media at the NFL Combine a little bit earlier today, and per usual, he does everything that needs to be done. He is somebody, now all you're hoping is everything talent-wise and the team where he's going has enough smarts real good on the coaching staff, organizationally, and players on the team to also help. Because this guy has taken every step perfectly up until this point, and then did it with dialogue at the Combine a little bit earlier today. We'll play a little bit of that for you coming up as well. Chris Kramer, top of the hour. The Boilermaker disappointment last night. We'll get a little bit more into that with the former Boilermaker guard. Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, IU, Michigan State, coming up on Sunday. We've got voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, going to join us coming up at the 5 o'clock hour, too. U.S. Open bowling tickets we'll give away a little bit later on as well, meaning don't go away. Bright blue skies, sunshiny, 60-degree plus Friday in central Indiana. It is just what we all need along with this show. Ride with JMV, 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. That's Greg Rakestraw, the voice right there, and he is getting you primed and prepped with our friends at the IHSAA for what is going to be a great time. Of course, the Girls State Finals coming up tomorrow, as we just talked to Bob Lovell about across the board. Class A, Borden Fremont, Eastern Pekin, Oak Hill, 2A, Roncalli, Belmont, Center Grove, Norwell, 3A and 4A. That is one heck of a day, one heck of a Saturday of basketball presented by the Indiana Fever and the Indiana Pacers. Is the 2026 Girls High School Basketball State Finals at Gainbridge Fieldhouse. Hey, get your tickets right now. IHSAA.org. Find out a little bit more, but get your tickets and make sure you're a part of it, because that is going to be a spectacular environment, high-level basketball, and something you will want to witness in person. Check it out and tell them JMV sent you.
The Ride with JMV.
Excuse me, sir. There's been a little problem in the cockpit.
The cockpit? What is it?
It's the little room in the front of the plane where the pilots sit. That's not important right now.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Hey, welcome back to the show. Chris Kramer, top of the hour. And next week, Hinkle Fieldhouse on Wednesday. Mike Freeman has promised me shots before the show. Not alcohol shots, but jump shots. I'm going to take him up on that. Hey, by the way, if you're going to Terre Haute coming up for the regular season finale for the Sycamores, I'm going to be there coming up on Sunday. So, Ballyhoo, Terminal, Copper Bar. Where else? Moggers beforehand. And I'm going to do what is their now customary ceremonial kind of like it would be hitting the anvil before a Colts game. I think what do? Blow the whistle? Now, Too Short does that. Sound the alarm. They do say, but it's cool, and I can't wait to do it. And you know how much I love my alma mater. You know how much I love Terre Haute, even in a down season for the Sycamores. Yeah, I remember 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we were getting prepped, and I was actually over there 2 years ago. They closed out the regular season. It was me and Greg Rakestraw when Indiana State played Murray State, and that's when they were playing well. Then they go on to Arch Madness, get all the way to the championship game, and yeah, for whatever reason, Tucker DeVries starts to play like on both ends and knock down shots. And Connor Enright was a part of it. Those guys haunt me in my dreams now. I think at the time, Indiana State had the highest, and again, this is a level of geekdom that I have been told, not something that I truly looked up on my own or understood, had the highest net rating during a season of any team to have ever not been selected into the NCAA tournament. I think the example is given there. They were like a 33 at the time. Hopefully this makes sense. I think Miami of Ohio is 50 right now. You know, everybody's talking about unbeaten season and, you know, what happens if they end up, you know, losing in their conference tournament. It's one thing if you lose in the finale, but what if you lose before that? What if you lose in the semifinal? Just out of curiosity. But Indiana State had a higher net rating then than what Miami does now. And, of course, I didn't mind the whole NIT. Once I was, like, reintroduced to the NIT being a thing, it was fun as hell. That was at Hinkle Fieldhouse, too. But I cannot wait to go to Terre Haute coming up on Sunday. And if you're going over, let me know so we can hang out a little bit. Con Kneppel last night, 8 3-pointers. See, this is where I missed the mark. And I don't necessarily have to tell you this. I think I have a little bit before. But I was skeptical about him being able to do anything at this level. And not only is he doing it at this level, I mentioned yesterday, you know, should he win Rookie of the Year, and then Cooper Flagg is brought up, but this guy has been outstanding. 8 3-pointers last night against the Pacers. And going in, I didn't hold much of a thought that he could be a difference maker. The problem I have with myself on this is you got to keep in mind, if you can shoot it, you can do it. That's a true story. There might not be a lot of things you do well. Maybe you don't move well. Lateral movement's not good. Maybe you're not the highest jumper. Maybe you're not the quickest. Maybe you're not taking everybody off the dribble. But in basketball, if you can shoot it, you can do it. True story. Now, he does a lot of other things well, too, but shoot the basketball and average as a rookie almost 19.5 per game. I think that's second right now in terms of rookies. That is impressive. Cooper Flagg's averaging 20.5. Knippel's averaging a point less at 19.5. Impressive as hell right there. Yeah, last night you saw that on display. And I will also say this. The Hornets aren't a team you go, hey, I can't wait to go watch the Hornets. Hey, I can't wait. You guys are still going out and watching the Pacers play. I'm going to give you guys all the credit as a fan base in the world as you kind of muddle through all this season, what has been called the gap year. Well done by you fans. You're still going. You're still enthusiastic. Well done. Quick one, we shall return. Chris Kramer is going to join us, the former Boilermaker guard. That's at the top of the hour. Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, is going to join us in the 5 o'clock hour. Don't go anywhere. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. What a great time of year. And this more noticeable now because you see the canyons, the earth is opening up wide, and it's ready to devour your set of wheels. And sometimes there's just no way around it. You're going to try to miss a canyon when you're driving on the road, but inevitably, when you try to miss that canyon, you absolutely square it up and hit it dead center. And it's problematic for your wheels, your tires. Somebody's got to have your back. AAA does. AAA.com. Download that to your smartphone. Hit the button today. Go with it. AAA.com. Chris Kramer on the other side. Do not go anywhere. Stream the app, HD Radio, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Hello there. My name is John, and I'm going to tell you all that you need to know about the world of plumbing. And there's really only one name truly you need to know because my friend Lance and his local team have your back on anything plumbing-wise. That's LD Smith Plumbing and Drains, 317-927-7186. You might ask me, JMV, what do you mean about having our back? Meaning you could have a plumbing situation, maybe to do with your pipes, maybe to do with high water someplace, as I've mentioned before, to with the wet weather that certainly is on the way next week. And as we get into the early portions of spring, problematic it can be, to make sure all your plumbing is and all the water is smoothly getting piped out and away from your home and its foundation. You got to go with the best, and that's LD Smith Plumbing and Drains at 317-927-7186. In fact, that is your only choice. And right now, a battery backup that you buy is going to net you the most incredible deal on a sump pump that you have ever witnessed in your life. I guarantee you that. If you don't have one, now is the time to get one with Lance and his local team at LD Smith Plumbing and Drains. 317-927-7186 online, ldsmithplumbing.com today.
The Ride with JMV.
Have you ever killed anyone?
Yeah, but they were all bad.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, going to join us coming up in the 5 o'clock hour. We've got U.S. Open bowling. Big Ern McCracken is a part of that coming up. Is that next week? Big Ern McCracken. James, have you watched Kingpin for me yet?
Still have not.
Nothing but the 90s coming up tomorrow night on B105.7. That's the JMV takeover. Kingpin has a piece in there. There's so many one-liners. The Fairley brothers were absolutely genius. Still might be. We're genius back then, certainly. This weekend, James, Kingpin. In honor of us giving away the U.S. Open bowling tournament passes again today, Big Ern, because I need you to understand when I reference Big Ern McCracken, what that means.
I'll have to put it on my to-watch list. I'll try and watch it this weekend for you.
Yeah, try to do that. Please do. Meantime, on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, Sparty 76-74 over the Boilermakers last night. Purdue in the season now 22-6, 12-5 in the Big Ten. Their former guard is Chris Kramer, who joins us now. Hello, Chris. Happy Friday to you, brother. How are you?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Outstanding. Other than wondering what this team needs, other than with my expectation just to be able to execute a couple of plays that I think you would expect these guys to be able to execute late in the game last night. And in fact, they didn't. And you could put a lot of things, I think, Chris, in terms of the reason why they lost. Late game execution didn't get it done for them last night at home.
Yeah, definitely late game execution wasn't up to what you would expect, I guess, in terms of the experience and everything that, those senior guards have. But I think the game was lost in a completely different time. I think the points off of turnovers is a very key statistic. I think it was 19-2 or something like that. I think that's a huge stat. You can't give up live ball turnovers to Michigan State. They punish you every single time, especially Cohen Carr. You can't make a bucket and then give up a transition dunk on the other end either. Those are kind of those small things that prove to be huge, as the game gets closer and you're in a one-possession game, right? I do think, Fletcher got that rebound off that missed free throw with 7 seconds or whatever. Looked like he was trying to push, and Jeremy Fears is kind of trailing him a little bit, trying to see if Jeremy Fears will run into him or trip him or something. That ended up wasting some time. And I think Coach Banner in that situation did a great job of calling a timeout to try to get something drawn up. I think Michigan State did a great job of scouting and knowing what was going to come. I think Purdue tried to get that direct pass from Fletcher Lawyer out of bounds straight into TK in a post-up situation. They fought around and made that pass really hard. The ball goes to Braden with 3 seconds. Trey Kaufman-Renn is open, but in order for that to be a laser pass catch, he's shooting a 10-foot hook shot, under duress with under a second left. I mean, in that situation, you want to get a shot, which they did. I just, wish they would have got a better shot. But I think a lot of it, too, is defensively the difference between the first half and the second half of keeping the ball out of the middle of the paint.
It's funny you mentioned the live ball turnovers, Chris, and letting this team that thrives in the open floor and pushing the tempo of it, letting them get those points off turnovers. Michigan State defensively, I thought that they were all over the extra pass look that the Boilermakers are so consistently good at. Last night they got in the passing lanes where we have seen other teams not do that. And that's something that I thought was different last night. And you also mentioned for a team that knew going in how good Michigan State was, it is absolutely inexcusable to give up what they gave up off a make and then the inbound and then a transition dunk or layup or an easy score for Michigan State. That's like 101 against Sparty with that particular team this year. That wasn't a good look at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think, even, back when I played, I mean, it was the game is going to be won on the backboards, and then, we're getting back in transition. Can we make Michigan State score on us consistently in the half court? And if you can keep them out of transition and make them score 5-on-5, make them score over the top of you, we put ourselves in a great position. And I think for the first 20 minutes, Purdue did that. The second 20 minutes, they got some of those transition baskets. There was those live ball turnovers. And Jeremy Fears was just getting into the paint. Kurt Tang was knocking down shots. I mean, they were flying in for offensive rebounds in kind of key moments, right? Like Michigan State kept coming, right? They have that toughness of their coach. And, no matter when the crowd got into it, when they were up like 8 and Purdue cut it to 2, they responded. So, they have that toughness. They have that pedigree to not fold when, the pressure mounts. And I think a lot of that obviously stems from Coach Izzo, but then having a lead guard like Jeremy Fears obviously helps as well.
It's funny, Robbie mentioned this a couple of times. Chris Kramer, by the way, joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Robbie mentioned this a couple of times last night. And then I talked to Dusty May, who's a friend of mine, last week after they beat Purdue. And he had mentioned that was something they were focused in on. And Robbie referenced this a couple of times last night, Chris, and it was controlled closeouts on shooters. Mm-hmm. And Purdue can shoot the ball, but we have seen in both Michigan and then again last night in Michigan State, controlled closeouts to the point to where you can also defensively control the pump fake and where the player is going off the dribble and close up a lot of those options that are created if you do a flyby. I thought Michigan and then Michigan State again last night's been really good. It looks like that has been a point of emphasis for both against the Boilermakers.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're closing out to a shooter, right, you're closing out to Fletcher Lawyer and you lose your mind and you're closing out, 100 miles an hour and he shows the ball at all and you jump, that's the best thing for him, right? He can take that sidestep dribble, get his rhythm and get a nice shot, and he's going to make that at a high clip. If you close out under control, you throw your hands up and make him really think about that shot. And if he does, shot fake and you stay there, your hands are ready, you're ready to move your feet. It just takes him out of rhythm of the shot, but then you're ready to play defense. And both of those teams, Michigan and Michigan State, did that. But the other thing, besides having controlled closeouts that I really think Michigan State did really well, is they got their hands and deflected on a lot of passes that Purdue, typically those passes would go straight through right to shooters and would be wide open shots. But Michigan State deflected a lot of balls out of bounds, and those deflections can be key, those active hands and, not letting shooters get wide open shots and then, playing off of long closeouts defensively, where you do have to, run C.J. Cox or Fletcher Lawyer off the line, and all you want to do is try to get out there and close out, and then, maybe you foul or you overrun the play and they get in the paint. They just can kind of punish you when you're scrambling. But, they were really good with active hands and deflecting a lot of passes too.
It's Chris Kramer, the former Boilermaker guard. A little breakdown of last night's Boilermaker loss at home to Sparty. They get Ohio State coming up on Sunday. I'm going to get a little preview from you with that one in a second. I thought Jack Benner, 4 of 6 from the floor, 11 points, and a nice little float game laid off the glass and a made three. However, let's under the microscope that deep three that he took that was a bit questionable late in that game in the second half there. When if you make it, it's genius, it's great, and if you don't, you kind of look at it and go, well, was that taken at the right moment? What did you think about that look?
Did you see my tweet?
I'm sorry. No, I'll look for your tweet. Am I copying your stuff right here? My bad.
No, I thought it was questionable too, right? I understand Jack played really well at the end of the game. There's no question about that. But it was a roll replace action, if I remember right. Braden threw a pass at being not a good pass. And I understand he just hit the one before that, but like time and score situation, there's like 15, 16 seconds on the shot clock. You know, they could have ran some more action, maybe got the ball inside, maybe something else happens, right? I mean, it is one of those shots. My high school coach used to say, if you have the balls to take it, you better have the balls to make it. And, you know, I think, you know, he took it. Unfortunately, he didn't make it, but it is one of those shots where if it goes in, you're like, oh, great shot, right? But as soon as you miss you look back and you're like, you know, we're down 15 seconds on the shot clock, time and score, you know, however much time was left in the game, not much. Definitely as a fan and as a spectator, it's definitely one of those possessions I wish Purdue could have had back. But the flip side of that, too, is you have to appreciate the confidence that he has. But personally, I wish he wouldn't have taken it, but, you know, I can appreciate, you know, also that just the confidence and the willingness to, I guess, I mean, after making one, you know, being like, hey, you know, maybe I have it going.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it's kind of, you got to take the good with the bad.
Well, I think the point too, it was online. It was just a little bit short because he was outside of his comfort. He was deep. That was a deep look right there, and it probably would have gone in had he been
from Indianapolis.
Yeah, he did. He did. I will say this too, and a lot of people have suggested, hey, you know, for him, this is like a growing moment. And while, okay, that's true, but I would like to see him grow in other moments that may not be as crucial as that particular moment, if that makes sense. And you're right. If it goes in, we all celebrate that. And, you know, he's rolling up, as you mentioned, like your coach said, with, you know, balls big as church bells. But instead, we're talking about how that wasn't a quality look given the circumstances. So.
Yeah, you know, I definitely, you know, it is kind of definitely a learning experience. I think it just comes with, you know, more experience. Obviously, you know, a redshirt freshman, you know, and getting in those moments more frequently is, you know, does he take that shot? Does he not? I mean, it's something we'll have to see what happens. But, you know, like I said, you can appreciate it. You know, just the confidence. Obviously, he works on his game. It was really deep. Could we have gotten a better shot? I'd like to think so, but, you know, at this point, it is what it is. You know, we'll see what happens in the future. But I think, you know, he did play really well late, so you have to give him credit for that.
Well, and here's the other thing, too. I've got to get a heads up and start following your X account during Purdue games. That thing is that's a scroll right there of quality material. Well done.
I appreciate it, man. I try to like live tweet them sometimes, you know.
Well, I'm curious, and this comes to mind because I practice this. Do you ever find yourself? Do you ever type something out, thumb something out, and then look at it and go, "All right, I think let's do it," or do you just fire away at will, just aiming every single direction? Because sometimes I have to like read it and go, "All right, so how many ways is this thing going to be picked apart here?" You think about it or just fire away?
I think your platform's probably a whole lot bigger than mine, so I don't really think too much about it.
Yeah, they think I'm a jackass, though, man, because you played at a high level. They think I'm a jackass. So, yeah.
Honestly, I've had to preface this before. It's like, look, all of my tweets are my opinion based off my experience.
Yeah.
You know, I haven't played at Purdue for a really long time. I have no idea what their game plan is. This is just my opinion on what I think from all of my time playing that I think they should have done in the situation. I have no idea game plan, scouting report, any of that stuff. But just what I would have liked to see in that situation. I think some people can appreciate it. But then, I mean, I have all the trolls in there as well, right? I mean, it is what it is. I mean, yeah. I had a UConn fan that, you know, until they just beat St. John's the other night was not in my – you know, comments at all. And now they won and then Purdue loses and now, you know, he's right back. So, I mean, it's the fun part of it. And then, I mean, I feel like I'm pretty like engaging too. Like with some of the trolls or haters or like just some of the comments. If I feel like it's going to be a good discussion, I'll fire back in there. But I think it's a great thing. I really don't think about it too much. I mean, there's sometimes I'll go to tweet something and then something else will happen in the game and I'll just delete it and then, just wait for the next opportunity. But other than that, I mean, if I see it and I'm getting it going, I just fire away.
Well, I'm going to tell everybody where to go during Sunday and just give that bad boy a test run with Chris Kramer at C_K_3 on Sunday during the Ohio State game. Get a load of that material right there with Chris Kramer, who's kind enough to join us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. This game on Sunday is dangerous territory. Late in the season, you've got a desperate team in Ohio State at home, and you have a team in Purdue coming off a stinging loss at home on a Thursday night to Michigan State. It is tough under any circumstances, I'm sure, going over there, but I think it's magnified in there on Sunday afternoon in Columbus.
No, I think you're, absolutely correct in that. And I think, just with some of the injuries that Ohio State has, they are desperate, and Thornton's one of those guys that can, put the team on his back and consistently make plays and put them in position. They've gotten some better play from their bigs of late. They're going to junk up the game. They're going to switch defenses. They're going to play zone. They're going to play man. They're going to throw the kitchen sink at Purdue defensively and try to keep them out of rhythm and, try to keep the game close that way because maybe they don't have the horses and the, to keep it close otherwise. But, I think it's definitely a game that will be very telling, right? Like, how do you respond? You look adversity in the face. You've lost, 4 games in Mackey Arena this season. You're hearing all the chatter. But at this point, you're playing for seeds, right? Coach Painter said yesterday after the game they want that triple bye. They're playing for seeding in the NCAA tournament. All of these games matter. Yeah, you can't win a Big Ten title right now. That's out the window. But everything else that is your goals moving forward are still attainable. So you have to, put yourselves in positions to win games for seeding in the NCAA tournament, as well as to get the best placing in the Big Ten to hopefully get that triple bye and play the least amount of games, to win a Big Ten tournament.
So Chris Kramer's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Yeah, there's still, as we've said this, there's still time, but certainly you look at 2 out of the last 3 and you wonder with both if Purdue against teams that are like that at that particular level, what may in the future happen. But that's why it's in the future. I just think Ohio State is going to be incredibly dangerous coming up on Sunday, regardless of the circumstances, because that is a team that, you hear a lot of stuff about your coach and I know that you're probably more detached from that nowadays with NIL and transfer portal than you ever have been, but I'm assuming that there are still relatables and connections there. You hear all this stuff about your coach and what may happen at the end of the year. You never really know what's going to inspire a group, especially now during this particular era, and it would seem that that's a pretty good spot to have the Boilermakers in if you're Ohio State and you're dinged up like they are coming up on Sunday afternoon.
No, I agree. I mean, Jake Diebler's job is up in the air. I mean, Ohio State's playing, this is a quad 1A victory for them if they can win on Sunday. And, they need every, big time win they can get. They're going to need wins, to win out and then potentially a couple wins in the Big Ten tournament just to kind of hopefully solidify themselves as an NCAA tournament team. But, those are far-fetched, I would say, at this point. But a win on Sunday would definitely catapult them back onto that bubble, and then you are playing for your life from there. But, I think they have a great relationship with Jake Diebler, and, they're definitely going to do everything they can regardless of who steps foot on that court, right? They're going to go out there and they're going to lay it on the line for him and for each other. And Purdue's got to come out with that same sense of urgency that they had kind of for that
All right. So
first 20 minutes at Nebraska or whatever, you know what I mean? They have to have that and set the tone right from the jump.
All right. Again, Sunday with Ohio State over in Columbus. That is 1:30 on CBS at C_K_3. You got to follow Chris Kramer. A little scroll action right there. See what you got from the former Boilermaker guard. And I'll tell you what, we'll get you back on to see how this thing goes on Sunday. See if I help you or hurt you with that.
Sounds good, man. I appreciate it.
Have a great weekend, man. We'll do it again soon. Thanks, Chris.
All right, thank you.
Chris Kramer on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. There's a lot to be said. And I know you guys get sick and tired of hearing about live ball turnovers, but with a team like that they thrive at the open floor and thrive on the break, that's chumming the water. That was problematic. And there were a couple of different times off a make. And, we know a lot about that here because that's exactly what the Pacers do. How many times did we celebrate last year the Pacers on the break and scoring at the other end on a layup or an easy look within 5 seconds after a make? Michigan State gets it up the floor. And a lot of you had mentioned, I think the Boilermakers are a step slow. Well, and I also think that Michigan State, and as I mentioned to Chris, and we were talking about that, Michigan also made them look even slower at times because, again, they controlled things. A lot of that has to also do with if that's one thing, but you can combat that by making plays. But there were a lot of times when both the Wolverines and Sparty didn't allow them to make those plays that you're familiar with. And I don't think that necessarily has to all the time do with quickness or foot speed. It is just a very calculated and determined defensive play that was a consistency with both Michigan and Michigan State in 2 out of the last 3 games we've seen with Purdue. Fernando Mendoza with the media a little bit earlier today. Got something to play from that for you. Kevin Lee's going to join us. Jackson Lee. Hey, James, look up when that truck race is because I don't think I have that in front of me. Jackson Lee is in the truck series. I think it's the Craftsman truck series. He's not in it, but he's racing in it coming up this weekend. I want to talk to Kev about that. IndyCar gets started down in St. Pete. Of course, Kevin Lee of Fox, Kevin Lee of Trackside with Kevin and Kevin here on a weekly basis on The Fan. Kevin Lee's going to join us coming up at 5:30. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, going to drop in here in the 5 o'clock hour as well. We have U.S. Open bowling tickets. What a glorious afternoon. Let me know how you're soaking it up, but make sure that you're soaking it up as a part of the show. That's simple as a part of the show. Jim McCann writes this: my friend at Indiana State basketball games, honored guests sound the signal. James, the signal is what I'm sounding. Is it like, woo, like this? Is that the signal? What kind of signal? Anybody ever, when you growing up, did you guys ever have a signal with your friends? Did you have a signal with your friends?
We did not know.
We had a signal.
What was the signal?
We grew up in the country in the woods. You want to hear our signal?
Please do.
I do. You guys, anybody else out there ever have a signal growing up? This is not just a generational thing, right? Not a Generation X thing? Like where we're located.
I think it may be more of a older generation thing.
Let me see if I can do this here. You guys want to hear my signal with my friends? This is from my friends David Hayes, the Wilson fellas, a Holsclaw, a Jackson, a Harper, a George, all back in the day in Owensburg, Indiana, in and around Greene County in Owensburg, Indiana. If we were somewhere deep in the woods, and we sometimes would go illegally over on Crane, the base, which they didn't like. They frowned upon that severely. But if we wanted to know where somebody was and vice versa to communicate, we did this. James, you ready? That was our signal.
That's pretty good. I like that.
Anybody else ever have a signal? One more time. Sorry, that hurt a little bit. That was our signal.
I think kids today, if they need a signal, they just text or call since we all have cell phones nowadays.
We had a signal. I love the era of the signal. A quick break. We'll come back. You'll need no signal. We'll come back when we return with a 90s song. We've got bowling tickets to give away, too, for the U.S. Open at Woodland Bowl. That, Don Fischer, Kevin Lee, all still to come, and a busy weekend, including the JMV takeover tomorrow night, B105.7. You guys digging? Nothing but the 90s coming up tomorrow night? Sometimes you don't like it so much. Now, I get more calls, and the younger generation dig it. But I think I lose a little bit of the older folks out there. 90s tomorrow night, JMV Takeover. That's B105.7. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. I'm going to give everybody a quick shout out, especially if you're heading down to those state finals coming up tomorrow. I've got you a destination location for a little pre-gaming and a little post-game celebration. I mean, you got celebrations going to go on all day tomorrow downtown, a block from the field house where you're going to find the girls' state title games. You have the district tap. I want you guys to roll in there and say, I heard JMV talking about this. Damn good food. The TV's everywhere because you're going to multitask on this. You're going to have damn good food. You're going to have yip-yapping going on from the fans or friends and family, maybe the kids, whatever. There's going to be some multitasking, and you want to pay attention to what's going on the TVs too. You can do that. You have great happy hour specials. You have live entertainment, meaning live music in there too. It is awesome. So the District Tap downtown, that's a block from the field house where no matter where you're from, either Borden, maybe Eastern Pekin, maybe you're Belmont, Norwell, wherever. Roncalli, Center Grove, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The District Tap. Downtown Indianapolis tomorrow. Post up there. Post-game show it up there as well. North side of Clearwater Crossing. It is a destination location. Both of the District Taps. North side, downtown Indy. To find out more, thedistricttap.com.
The Ride with JMV.
We're not going to fall for a banana in the tailpipe.
You're not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe?
It should be more natural, brother. It should flow out like this. Look, man, I ain't falling for no banana in my tailpipe.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
I believe with an NFL franchise, to lead it, you need equity. And then you need two things to build equity. You need one, to play well. And that's where all my focus goes in. Football, football, football. If you want to lead, you first got to play well. And then second, it's having the respect of your teammates. Through work ethic, through your leadership, through your tenacity, the way you respond to mistakes. And so those are all things I'm looking to work on.
Fernando Mendoza earlier today, the former IU quarterback, Heisman Trophy winner. When's the last time somebody has handled things to perfection at every level like this in 1 year? Think about this. Unbeaten, Heisman Trophy winner. 40-plus touchdown passes, 41 on the season. National champion. More than likely predicted to be first overall selection. James, when's the last time we have seen one individual in college football handle things as well on every level with every accomplishment like he has? It's amazing.
I can't think of one off the top of my head right now. In terms of dealing with media, he reminds me a lot of Andrew Luck and Peyton Manning.
Incredible stuff right there. Always says, you know how hard it is to always say, and we struggle with saying the right things just walking around. Like, I'm the biggest jackass ever. Ugh, I struggle. I go, well, wait a minute. I don't know if I should say that right now. But we don't have a lot of go ahead. We don't have a lot of microphones in front of us. That's incredible. Yeah, Fernando Mendoza is going to be your first. See, I told you. I struggle with it right here in front of a microphone. First overall selection to the Raiders. Met with the media earlier today, and once again, it was impressive. Troy suggests maybe Joe Burrow did the same thing. Might be. Good thought. Derek says, JMV, your signal sounds like Prince. It does kind of sound like Baby, I'm a Star. I got you, Derek. This has made my day from Neil and Indy. JMV, I need that sound as my text notification. The sound is the signal that we used to have growing up. Deep in the woods, countryside, roaming the hills. No cell phones. We had a signal. Where do you think David Hayes is, and how is he getting injured because he have to go to the doctor to get stitches in doing so? What's happening here? We need a signal. We had a signal. The signal does sound a little bit like Prince. Hey, Derek, do you know what? This is something I've never knew or I've never looked up, I guess, and there probably is an answer someplace out there. What did Prince call that sound? Was it called anything? Because this was our signal. Was it called anything? It's out of curiosity. And Neil, if you need that signal at some point, just let me know when you're taping something, and I'll try to. It hurts the throat a little bit, to be quite honest with you, so I'll try to dig down deep and do it again. At some point before the end of the show, when I'll let you know so you can roll some tape and use that as your text notification. The signal, which is pretty awesome right there. The reason why I said that is because I'm going to Indiana State on Sunday. They have their regular season finale at home, and I am doing, and Jim McCann explained that, I am doing pregame-wise the signal. I'm doing the Sycamore signal. It is a pregame ritual. As the team takes the court, I am going to do the signal. Jim McCann wonders, are you actually an honored guest? I am going to be, yes. See, that is a pretty good question. I think what they have to do is make sure I still don't have any outstanding warrants in Vigo County before I qualify 100% as an honored guest. I think they are going to have to look back to the 1990s and make sure my record is clean. But yeah, it is cool that they asked me back, and you know this to be true if you've listened to me for years. I love my alma mater, and I love Terre Haute. Always have, always will. Now, I want them to win more basketball games, and this year has sucked. But I appreciate them calling and asking, and I cannot wait to go. 239-1070 is the number I mentioned. Don Fischer, top of the hour. Kevin Lee, bottom of the 5 o'clock hour. Your chance to win coming up, too. And Rick is up first today. Hello, Rick. Thanks for the call. How are you, buddy?
Fine, John. How are you?
Rick, I'm outstanding, man. Go ahead.
I'm not snoring this time.
Now, you are one of two people in the history of this show that evidently I have talked to sleep who have fallen asleep on hold. Is that an honor or is that a detriment? Is that a black mark on your career? How do you view that?
I think it's an honor.
I do too.
Actually,
I do too.
And I tell you what, I miss the girls being on because they gave you a panache that you don't normally have. But
wait! I got to hear about this nosh that I normally don't have. Explain yourself.
A different energy that you.
Oh, a different energy, huh? Oh, that's what it is when they're with me.
Yeah.
Well, here the problem that we have is
you can't.
Well, we have Lindsay went off, and listen, she could come out to every show. She works in the morning, but she is recently still married with Josh, so her time maybe not is as free as it used to be. And Stinking Gina went over to Wish TV Channel 8 and got a job in the afternoon, completely screwed up the program.
Yeah, so I blame them both.
Yeah, hey, send them emails to say, what the hell?
Yeah.
Quit your jobs and start going out every Friday with JMV.
Yes, I have. And you know that I show up to see you.
Give him his nosh back. He's lost his nosh.
Exactly. I'm energy.
Yeah, go ahead.
I called in to say we're very fortunate here in Indiana with our athletes and their public media education, their social media education. Tyrese is a wonderful interview.
Yeah.
Caitlin, an amazing interview. Fernando, amazing interview. I'm forgetting his name. The one of the guards at Purdue, an amazing interview. They represent the sport. They represent the state. They represent what Indiana is about very, very well. And
you know how hard it is, and I'll keep it to Mendoza since that's what we talked about going in, Rick. How hard it is to be at that level, to say and do the right thing, and then ultimately have it work out to the greatest possible level, to the elite level. He's done and won everything, and he handles it like we all, I think, would struggle with different levels of pressure of any kind, and he just gets right through it. And it is incredible. I can see why you would want him to lead an organization from the most important position in sports.
Okay, 3 questions.
Yeah.
You can choose whatever you want to answer to. What do you project? What do you project the Pacers, IU, and is the Fever going to have a season?
I would guess somebody understands monetarily what needs to take place for the Fever to have a season. So yeah, exactly. And Caitlin Clark back and better than ever, I guess. What was the other one regarding the Pacers again?
Pacers next year.
I believe in the Pacers next year. The only reason why I sounded like I had hesitation in my voice is because I believed in the Pacers to a lower level, but a competitive level this year, and it didn't work out. Now, they were compromised even more heavily than just losing Tyrese Halliburton due to injury. We know that to be true. But no, I have, and here's Rick, why I have the expectations, because I think the question we have regarding pace of play and Zubats and how he fits, and, he wasn't quite like Miles Turner, but he brings things that Miles Turner never, ever was able to do to the table, and I think that's going to help. But anybody is going to be made better in and around Tyrese Halliburton on their team. He is the main ingredient to making you the best you can be, and the Pacers are lucky they have that here.
Are we going to see Zubac this season?
Win the what?
Are we going to see Zubac play this season?
I think at some point, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, at some point. I don't know what you're going to glean from it, though, if that makes sense, because it's going to be a completely different story in terms of pace of play when Halliburton gets back and then TJ goes back to the bench, and then you see that style of play that they want. That's the one thing about this whole situation that I think I can't wait to see how he does, because it is a different level. As I've mentioned before, Rick, everybody says they want to play like that, and you thrive to play basketball like that, but not everybody is built to play basketball like that, and that's certainly something Zubats hasn't been a part of in the past, and I can't wait to see how he adapts. But I just think automatically when you're on the floor with Tyrese Halliburton, no matter who you are, what your skill set might be, he makes you better. He is that elite level of special.
It's kind of the Caitlin Clark effect, kind of. Different but similar.
Rick,
and
I appreciate
finally,
it. I'm going to try to – I'm sorry. Go ahead. One more thing.
Question quickly.
Yeah.
Talk about where you think IU is going to be next year. I didn't know they had 9 guys.
Thank you, Rick, for that. I'll try to get my nosh back and see if the girls can show up sometime here relatively soon. But no, Kurt Cignetti deserves the right with what he's accomplished so far in terms of roster build. I'm going to have to be proven a non-believer. And the fact you bring in one of the most highly touted quarterbacks to replace the highest touted quarterback this year, I just think they have something special in Bloomington right now in terms of a coach, but in terms of how the coach has a blueprint of what he puts on that field. So even losing the 9 guys that we're talking about at the combine like they are right now, I have firm belief that they're going to be able to get exactly what they're looking for, because now you're of the superstar status in college football. You're not any longer the little engine that could. That's a little sweet story. That's great. No, now you're flexing. Now you're the monster on the scene. So I have even more belief in what Cignetti can do. And I think if you don't, I would question why in the world you wouldn't. Quick break. We shall return. Don Fischer, top of the hour. Kevin Lee, bottom of the hour. Tickets to give away. I don't want you guys going anywhere. Going to make sure I have my nosh coming up on the other side. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. John, for Big Red Liquors powers the JMV takeover tomorrow night. You guys ready? We're going to relive the 1990s together. Celebrate the musical decade of the 1990s. And, of course, Big Red Liquors powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. Big Red Liquors, 100-plus locations throughout the state of Indiana. There is one near you with great deals this weekend. Make your weekend and this starter on a Friday weather-wise spectacular with these great deals. Are you ready? How about the best in red-hot deals on beer? Yuengling 24-pack cans, you're going to save money there. Busch Light 16-ounces, those are 12-pack cans. You're going to save money. Sierra Nevada's family of 12-pack cans. You're going to find Sierra Nevada products everywhere. $3 off of that. Guinness 8-packs, you're going to save $5. Corona, Modelo, easily save money there too. And, hey, what about Sazerac Rye? 6 years, 750s. Get this. $10 off, only $24.99 this weekend. That's a red-hot spirit deal you'll find at Big Red Liquors. 20-plus, check that, 100-plus locations throughout the state of Indiana. One near you powers the JMV Takeover. Every Saturday night on B105.7. To find that location nearest you, that's BigRedLiquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
You want to hear our signal? That was our signal.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Our signal. James going to bring me back with 90s Duran Duran right here, everybody. So I think this was Nick Rhodes, John Taylor, and Simon Le Bon. That's when everybody, I think, by the time of the early 90s had split. Big time song, The Ordinary World is Nothing But the 90s, coming up tomorrow night on B105.7. I'll see you there. Jim McCann says, what about for the JMV Takeover, GNR, Live and Let Die, or Lenny Kravitz, American Woman? One of my favorite concerts of all time, Jim, Lenny Kravitz. This was at something called WOMAD Fest. And you can look this up, WOMAD Fest. This would have been September 1993 at the then Deer Creek Music Center. And Lenny Kravitz was touring on this festival tour, on this circuit, as a part of the WOMAD, and he was propping up his album, Are You Gonna Go My Way? And when they did the title track, the place just cut loose. But that was Lenny Kravitz. That was PM Dawn, Crowded House, the late Sinead O'Connor, and the feature was Peter Gabriel. It was awesome. Peter Gabriel at the time had those two songs in the early 90s, Digging in the Dirt and Steam. Good stuff, though. WOMAD Fest. You can look it up. I think I actually got tickets from my friend Elise Fields from what then was 93.1, which now is down the hall where Hammer and Nigel's on right now, 93 WIBC. Then it was 93.1 WKLR, James. Back then. We have U.S. Open bowling tickets, too, to give away right now. We got a pair for you?
We got a pair.
We got a pair. That's coming up next week, correct? Next week?
I believe so, yes.
Now, Woodland Bowl, if you've ever been a part of that, you know what I'm talking about. It is fun. A pair of tickets on the text line, number 30, 317-239-1070. Number 30. Text line bowling U.S. Open tickets for you. It is going to be a blast. We played 14 years ago yesterday, the celebration of Pete Weber and his championship. That is historic right there. Number 30, text line 317-239-1070. You shall go on us. Philo Beto, which, if you don't know what that is in reference to, that was Clint Eastwood's name in Every Which Way But Loose and Any Which Way You Can. Late 70s, early 80s films with Clint Eastwood. He said panache, not nosh. He said panache and not nosh?
That would make a lot more sense. I thought
he said nosh.
I thought he was mispronouncing niche.
Oh, I thought he said nosh. Now, you also understand that I don't hear great, so I could have missed the pa part, but I only heard nosh. I've lost my panache.
That makes a lot more sense.
I thought nosh was like a reference to me being overly excited about something.
I thought this was slang that I just didn't know.
Me too. Hey, JMV, have you noticed the weight that Halliburton has put on? I'm a little concerned he won't have the same spring in his step when combining that with his injury. And isn't Zubats another Sabonis? Bookmark this. Look back in February of next season. Well, I will say this. I am not at all skeptical about Halliburton's going to return. Not at all. I don't have one question. But I think it is fair to have questions regarding Zubats in terms of the pace of play. But I will also tell you the one thing he is going to add that this team has had not anything of since Sabonis is offensive boards, just boards in general, but offensive glass work. And this is what I'm talking about in terms of how this is going to be even more beneficial to a high-caliber, high-power offense. You get on the offensive glass, that means you're kicking out. And if you're thinking about this in terms of what the Pacers can do or like to do, can you imagine off the offensive glass with Zubats something that the Pacers have not done at all? Offensive glass work, kickouts, step into wide-ass open looks from three, which for these guys are layups. That's something that you have not seen around here. Now, I understand you take away the dynamic of the high ball screen action, the pick and pop that Miles offered, that Zubats is zero threat. That's correct. But what Miles didn't do at all, Zubats does at an incredibly high level. So we'll see if there's some give and some take there. But I will bookmark that regarding what you say about Halliburton and Zubats coming up February of next year. Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, is going to join us coming up on the other side. We got Kevin Lee, bottom of the hour. You guys are digging on the signal. JMV, your signal definitely sounds like the beginning of Prince. One that can't be aired on FM radio, but my favorite. Erotic City? No, that doesn't start. Erotic City doesn't start out like that. I think it sounds like Baby I'm a Star a little bit. The signal does sound a little bit like Prince. I'd agree. All right, Don Fischer coming up on the other side. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge, YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. This is 93.5 107.5 The Fan. Hey, John, from my friends at QC Kinetics. Got you covered with QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN. Today, make sure that if you have chronic pain of any kind, joint pain, that you do something about it with my friends from QC Kinetics. I did it because I had chronic knee pain. It was problematic. I want to play hoop. I don't want to stop. I want to do it absolutely forever. And QC Kinetics has helped me eliminating that chronic knee pain that hampered me. They can do that for whatever chronic type of ordeal pain-wise you're going through right now. So you call 317-559-PAIN today. Find out if you qualify, then take off and running with your own body's biologics. I know it sounds innovative because it is. It is incredible what they can do with PRP and such, and what they can do for you to alleviate that chronic joint pain that you're suffering from right now. Give them a call at QC Kinetics. Make sure you tell them that I sent you. 317-559-PAIN. Do that today. See if you qualify and get started to get back in what you really love doing. Thanks to QC Kinetics. 317-559-PAIN today. Tell them JMV sent you.
The Ride with JMV.
It's called Sex Panther by Odeon. It's illegal in 9 countries.
It's quite pungent. It stings the nostrils.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, there it is. Peter Gabriel. That is digging in the dirt right there. So he was the headliner for WOMAD Fest. He was outstanding. 1993. 93 WKLR. Does anybody remember that? I think 93 WKLR was a precursor to, was it Eagle? Was it the Eagle back then? I think it was the Eagle 93 back then. Now it's 93 WIBC with Hammer and Nigel. And 93 WIBC, where you can catch the pregame show coming up on Sunday with Sparty and the Hoosiers. That's 2:45, by the way. Make sure you mark your calendars. No need to put that in your TV guide, but mark your calendars. 2:45, 93 WIBC, not 93.1 WKLR like back in the day, or Eagle 93. But the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, will be on the call in a game that certainly the Hoosiers would need. And Don joins us on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Good afternoon, Don. How are you?
I'm good, John. How about yourself?
Zero way you did not play golf of some sort today. Is there zero?
You can bet your odds on that one, big boy.
Yes, sir. Did you go down to Legends?
I did.
You dropped a couple F-bombs in front of Ted Bishop at all today? Anything like that?
No, nothing like that at all in front of Ted today. But and I didn't actually. I don't think I dropped one of those today. So that was a good thing. It was a positive out of the day's experience.
Let me tell you, it's okay to do that though, because that lets out negative energy. It's okay. It's just a word. All it does is let out negative energy. Feel better about that.
I got you.
All right. Hey, our table tonight. What are we doing?
Yes, sir.
What time?
Yep, 6:30.
I'll be there right after this show. And here's what's funny. Blake has to work, and he called me and he goes, "Hey, can you stop at Condado, I think is the place, and get me some food?" And I said, "Sure." So what I'm going to do is I'm going to buy him food at our table and say it was from that place.
Well, where was it? Where was it? He wanted his food.
Condado,
from?
Is that what it's called? I think it's over in Greenwood. Condado. It's a Mexican restaurant.
It may be. I have never been there.
Yeah.
Therefore, I can't either.
I
can't say yay or nay.
So what I'll do is I'll hang out with you guys at our table and slide by Taco Bell and put it in a bag and then give it to him.
Well, I like your plan. I don't know if it'll work.
You won't know the difference, Don. We're all good. Nah, man, that's going to be a good Friday night. And I think we all are in need of a good Friday night. You mentioned you played golf today. Great blue skies, 60-degree afternoon in late February. And after what took place earlier this week and that level of disappointment at home against Northwestern, probably needed a day like today. And this Hoosier team needs a good day coming up on Sunday like nobody's business.
Yeah, they do. There's no question about that, John. It's a really important game for Indiana. They've got to win these last 3 ball games in regular season, or they're not going to get in. If they lose just one of the last 3, I think they're really questionable. If they lose 2 of the last 3, I don't think they get in. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. I have no idea what all the shenanigans people pull to find out where you're rated at this point and how you stack up in the seeds and all that kind of thing. All I know is that I know what I see right now, and I have not liked it for 3 straight ball games. Indiana did not play well enough in the second half again in this contest against Northwestern. They just did not. And they shot it well in the first half and did a solid job in the first half, and then in the second half they just couldn't continue it for whatever reason. I don't know if they've hit the wall to some degree as a team. That would not be likely in my mind, simply because I know that the coach Darren DeVries does not overwork these guys, and so that's a rarity that would happen. But at the same time, there's something going on there because they've just not finished ball games at all here in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, 9 minutes, Don, of non-field goal activity. That takes, at this level, that takes a lot of work to get that done right there. A lot of bad work, matter of fact.
Well, and when you're not making shots, and let's face it, we've talked about this all year long. This is a team that needs to make shots. They need to make threes. That has to be a big part of how they conduct themselves on the floor and whether or not they're going to win ball games. And in the second half of this game, they did not shoot the 3 well at all. And they didn't shoot the basketball well in the second half of this contest. So right now they're struggling a little bit. I think Darren will have them ready to play in this matchup with Michigan State. They know what's at stake here. I don't think there's any question about that. If they don't know, then they haven't been paying attention. But I really believe this is a crucial game for Indiana. I hate must-wins, but I think this might be one of them.
Well, I'm a big lover of must-wins, as you noted in the past. So this is right up my alley of sorts. Don Fischer voiced the Hoosiers with us. And I know that you go through 9 minutes in the second half of not scoring a field goal and the way that they played. You're wide open to lose a game and people to be critical about it. But if you're also an official, you absolutely cannot swallow your whistle in that capacity on such an obvious foul at the end of the game. I'm not trying to make that as an excuse right here, but I mean, come on, man. Seriously.
No, that's exactly right. I mean, that was a horrible call, horrible lack of a call. It was obvious to everyone that saw it, including, I think, the official after he realized what he did. But those guys never change their mind unless they're called upon by their other officials to do so. And even in that situation, I guess I don't know if that's reviewable or not reviewable. They certainly didn't review it, so I guess it's not reviewable in that context. So, it's frustrating, but here's the point. Indiana should never have been in that position. No. They played too well in the first half, and they are a better team than Northwestern, a more experienced team than Northwestern. And obviously, the other aspect of that is Northwestern had the star of the game and the Martinelli kid who played terrific the entire contest.
Yeah, he did. There's no doubt about that. You watched Michigan State last night get a load of Sparty up and down the floor, playing at a very high level, and a win on the road at Purdue. That is going to be a task coming up on Sunday.
Yeah, and just remember this, that Indiana got clubbed by Michigan State in East Lansing. And granted, it's always supposed to be easier when you're playing at home in ball games like this. But against Michigan State, you let them get going off the boards like they can and get the fast break going like they are capable of doing, or you turn the ball over a bunch more so than they should have in the first matchup. This game can get out of hand quickly. So Indiana has got to get off to a good start, and then they've got to be able to maintain that start.
Yeah, the one thing that I hope that I'd never see again is, I don't know about you, I don't know about Eric, but I'm kind of worn out on the switch and the big getting locked into Connor Enright and him getting worked on the interior. I think I'm about over that by now.
Well, all I can tell you at this point, John, is this team's got to play better.
Yeah.
I don't even want to analyze it in any other way at this juncture. They've simply got to play better than they have in those last three ball games. They have not played up to capabilities that I think this team has. And that's where it all boils down right now, whether they were tired, whether they were just not mentally into it, or the fact that they were not knocking down shots to start the second half destroyed their confidence. I don't know. All I can tell you is what we see, and right now what we see is not good.
Got to have a big game. There's no doubt from your big guys, and both Wilkerson and DeVries comes in. If you're going to spring an upset of that magnitude at home coming up on Sunday, these guys are going to have to have a game that I think a lot of people expected them to have consistently this season, Sunday.
Well, and like I said before, this is a team that was put together out of the transfer portal. A great majority of these guys were all guys that played at mid-major schools prior to coming to Indiana. Only one or two of these guys played at a high level for a full season. Tucker DeVries only played, I think, 8 games last year for West Virginia. Prior to that, he was at Drake. And look, there's no doubt this team has enough talent that they can compete with just about anybody in this league on a given night. But it can't be just any night. It's got to be every night. They've got to compete like that every single ball game. And I don't think we've seen that competition or that competitive spirit, especially when they haven't shot it well in ball games this year. They can still win games by playing great defense, being tough to deal with from a defensive standpoint. And sometimes they just lack that. I think that confidence level that gets you into those positions where you can win ball games that you're not expected to win.
It's Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, again, 2:45 for that. 3:45, the tip time with IU and Michigan State coming up on Sunday. I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I'll bring you on here to talk about this as well. 9 players from the IU football team, the national champions, are at the NFL Combine, and I was listening to Fernando Mendoza a little bit earlier today. I cannot remember a time when we have seen in 1 year, 1 season, a player accomplish absolutely everything at the elite level and then do it to almost perfection. And I'm talking about that playing on the field, decision-making, being in front of the camera or the microphone. This is incredible territory with what he has accomplished, and that was what I was reminded of in watching him meet with the media earlier today. Everything he talked about was just perfectly stated. And, that's another reason why he's going to be the number one overall selection. Another reason why he's had such an incredible year. But I can't remember the last time somebody had been that level of near perfection on everything, including winning, as he has had this season.
Well, it speaks to how he was brought up. It speaks to his parenting. It speaks to the coaching that he's had previously, and especially about the coaching that he's had here in this last year, because he was not this kind of player at California or preceding that stint at California. He was a good player. There's no question about that. And he was a talented guy. Everybody knew that. Nobody really knew his personality, and if they did know it, we certainly weren't aware of it until he got here and we started listening to this guy talk, especially toward the end of the season. Every single interview that he has done is almost to perfection in the sense of what the media expects and what the fan base expects. And I think that's the amazing thing about Fernando. He is one classy young man, tremendously raised, obviously a young man that believes in his parenting and believes in the stuff that he's learned throughout his career. There's no doubt this guy's special. And I know he's going to get picked. If he doesn't get picked number one, somebody's missing the boat.
Yeah, well, he's going to go number one. There's no doubt. We're watching Omar Cooper Jr., literally race up the ranks in the first round, too, and Surratt's getting the love, and you see Pons, and you get a guy that sometimes I guess you question, not me, but you will question at that level because all the geeks, I was down there one day, and the geeks all get around everything and look at the numbers and such, crunch the numbers and suggest that a guy like Aiden Fischer wouldn't work. But, Aiden Fisher's been told that most of his life, and what has he done? It's worked, and he's played at a high level. He's been a national champion, so I wouldn't bet against that. It's just interesting to see all these guys make strides and have 9 of them down there after that championship season. Just makes this even more amazing in the rear view.
Oh, it is. There's no question. This group of players showed all year long who they were, how bought in that they were with what Kurt Cignetti has been selling. And then on top of that, Cignetti has said this all along, that there is no question one of the keys to our teams being great, no matter where I've been, is the character of those teams and the character of the players that play on those teams. And that's because this guy vets all of them and makes sure that they are the right fit, and they compromise the statistical areas that he needs them to be full, to have the talent for. And I think it's so much about Kurt Cignetti. I can't tell you how much I believe that, just based on what he's done in the first 2 years at Indiana, because you don't do that unless you know exactly what you're doing and exactly the kind of people and players you're looking for.
So Don Fischer, voice of the Hoosiers, somebody asked me this a little bit earlier on the show, and what I would expect out of IU next year. Because I'd mentioned, 9 guys at the combine, and you're losing a great deal. There's no question about it. But I said, until further notice, I don't know why, with what he has done with the past 2 rosters and how it has grown and how it became the national champion and what you have coming in at quarterback this year with Hoover, there's no way I'm going to downplay the fact that it is believable that you can go ahead and run this thing back with new players, fill those 9 spots, as tough as it might be, and get right back to that high level of winning. I'm certainly not going to downplay it.
If you doubt it, you're making a mistake. No, John, that's the whole point. Cignetti has proven over and over and over again, no matter where he's been, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly how to get it done. And every place he's been a winner in a big way. Not just a winner, but a winner in a big way. And here in Indiana, the ultimate, a national championship after being in the college football playoff 2 years in a row under his tutelage.
It is absolutely incredible. And not for a moment will I downplay that. We've got sad news today. Were you a big fan of Neil Sedaka, Don?
I did like Neil Sedaka.
He has passed away.
I wasn't he did?
86. just I don't know how long ago it was. It was at some point over the afternoon. Neil Sedaka, decades of high-level writing, composing, singer-songwriting. Neil Sedaka.
He was fantastic in a lot of ways. I liked a lot of his music. There were a few songs I didn't think were all that great, and he had a different kind of voice than most of the guys too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he did. You want me to do "Laughter in the Rain" for you right here?
Sure. Let's hear it.
"Laughter in the Rain." Bad Blood he did with Elton John right there.
Yeah.
That is some high quality material.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And he was a great songwriter, and obviously he delivered on songs that he wrote for other people. So, no, he was a tremendous, tremendous talent, no doubt about it. I did not know he had passed, and I feel for the family and so on. But,
man. Bummer.
You know, it's tough. It's always a bummer when somebody that you know and you like and you think is a great entertainer goes down the tubes. I will tell you another guy that I did not know this happened until a few days ago. I had no idea about Rondell Moore, the former Purdue wide receiver. That's just so sad.
Yeah, 25 years of age. Very soft-spoken, understated, just an incredible talent from New Albany, Southern Indiana down there. And, that happened. I was not on Monday, and I know that all the shows had talked about that. Just an incredible – you saw it too. You know, doing IU games, the incredible level of talent on the football field he possessed.
He was a phenomenal player, no question about it. You were scared to death when you had to face him on the football field because he was that talented. He could break a play at any point in time.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. You and Eric and John Herrick get started coming up at 2:45 on Sunday afternoon, 3:45. And we should note this, that Don Fischer has described this as a must-win situation coming up on Sunday. Must win.
It pretty much is.
Join me with that.
Pretty much is, John.
All right, you got a seat for me there?
You will. If you do not come tonight, people will be hugely disappointed.
I'm on the way there. We'll put Illinois and Michigan up on the TV. We had Dusty and I talked about you last Friday on this show. We did in good ways.
You had Dusty on, did you?
We did. He did, and we talked about you and talked about Greene County stuff and acted like that nobody else was around. We weren't even on the radio. We talked about the Apple Festival, morning pickup basketball, all that stuff nobody around here cares about. Yeah.
Yep. Dusty's a special guy. There's no doubt about it. And he will always be in our hearts, even though we can't root for him anymore.
I know. It is weird because I so loathe the state of Michigan. And there he is, right there.
I know. We all feel the same. I'm not saying anything else. I'll get in trouble.
All right. I'm on the inbound. I'll be there a little bit after 6:30, but I'll see you at our table. We'll be ready to get going. Okay, buddy?
10-4.
You got it. Voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer right there. Our table later on tonight. I love it. Our table, by the way, is in Bargersville. So Joe and Ginger, here we go. So beers with Don and Susie. Well, Michigan, Illinois on the TV there in the bar. And I'll get a paper bag or something. Condado is a Mexican place on the south side. Can I go out and maybe get a little Taco Bell, throw that in a nondescript paper bag, and then say, yeah, I got this for you.
Does our table have tacos?
I don't know
Mexican food?
I don't know because I only drink beer.
He might get suspicious.
But it's great food.
He might get suspicious if you roll up with a Taco Bell bag and there's sandwiches or something inside of it.
Well, he may be even more suspicious if I say, I think you're going to have to walk down here and drive us home. So may even be even more suspicious out of that, but no. It'll be a good time. I tell you, one of my favorite Fridays ever is doing just that. And hopefully we'll see you down there. We'll probably be talking at least there about CG Norwell coming up tomorrow night. That's 4A, the state title game, and Center Grove trying to go unbeaten on the season. Roncalli in 3A. The voice of Roncalli, by the way, is helping me out here today. Nathaniel Finch does a great job for the Royals. 3A, Roncalli and Belmont. In Class A, Borden and Fremont, and 2A, Eastern Pekin and Oak Hill. 4 state championship games Gainbridge Fieldhouse coming up tomorrow. You guys enjoy that. Last word coming up right here a little bit later on. And then, of course, no Pacer action until late Sunday afternoon, 4:30, the pregame show, 5 o'clock, I should say, is the tip time for the Pacers and the Grizzlies. All right, quick break. We'll come back. Kevin Lee on the other side. The IndyCar season starts coming up on Sunday. That is down in St. Pete at 11:30 a.m. from Fox. Not only that, with the call of the start of the IndyCar season for Kevin Lee, but his son Jackson, coming up tomorrow, is in a truck series race. He's going to wheel one of the Craftsman Series trucks down in St. Pete coming up tomorrow. Kev's going to join us on the other side. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. As I like to tell you, thank me later. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. I have a great idea for you. That, of course, Big Red Liquors for the weekend. Load up and be good to go. Whether you're hanging out by yourself, just watching some games, doing stuff around the house for a little leisure time, or maybe you're throwing a party, a gathering, a get-together. You're not BYOB party host. You are taking care of folks right there. And Big Red Liquors will take care of you. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana, one near you, plus powers the JMV takeover every Saturday night on B105.7. That is BigRedLiquors.com. All right, you've got a lot to choose from right here. I've mentioned this too. Jack Daniel's 750s. You're going to save on those products across the board right now. What a great price tag for you to get started for the weekend. Sazerac Rye, 6 years, 750s, $10 off for you right there too. And the best in red-hot deals on beer prices, like Corona and Modelo. You guys dig on the Oro? The Oro is the 90-calorie. The low-cal Modelo offering, you're going to find that with $5 off. White Claw 12-pack cans, you're going to save there, too. And Michelob Ultra Zero 12-pack cans, also a great deal of savings to make sure you are stocked up and ready for the weekend. That's a Big Red Liquors. 100-plus locations, state of Indiana, power in the JMV takeover every Saturday night. To find that location nearest you, that's BigRedLiquors.com.
The Ride with JMV.
Well, not really. I felt it on my leg. Come on, I don't want to see it.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
R.I.P. and a sky point to the great Neil Sedaka. Here he is from the 70s with Elton John right here. This is bad blood. Neil Sedaka passes away today at the age of 86. Also very well known from the 1970s with a song called Laughter in the Rain. This guy goes back multi-decades, by the way. He was one of the all-time greats in music, performing, writing, producing, all of it. Bad Blood is a good song, and again, a sky point. R.I.P. to the great Neil Sedaka, who has passed away earlier today. JMV, Alan Stanley says your signal sounds like the Delta Sigma Theta sorority call and Prince. I was going over my signal for you a little bit earlier today. The signal. When I was growing up, we had a signal with the friends around the countryside. Didn't have phones. Didn't have beepers. We had signals. Actually, one signal, one universal signal to show where we might be somewhere in the woods or on the hill or illegally over on Crane. Which I don't know. We could get arrested for that. But we never did. Signal's pretty badass, though. It hurts my throat to do the signal, to be honest with you. I don't know what and how I did that back in the day. That is a true story, though. That's great. Everyone needs to smoke up on a Friday and listen to JMV and Don Fischer interviews. Most wholesome blank ever. Well done. Thank you. I love having Don on every Friday. And then I love meeting him at our table. He and Susie and having a great Friday night. JMV, the nerds retire to the nerdery with their calculators. Thank you. JMV, would you please do your signal one more time for us? All right, one more time. And I may have to, I don't know, I want to have a voice tomorrow night for the JMV takeover too. All right, signal growing up one more time. And again, me and my friends, if we were out and about over the countryside in the woods, we're talking a lot of space, a lot of acreage, a lot of miles. And we didn't have phones, anything like that. We had a signal. And once again, James, here's the signal. And it sounds very much like Prince. It sounds like I'm doing Baby I'm a Star right there. The signal. Feel free, listen, there's not a copyright on it. Feel free to use that for your notifications on your phone or, maybe even your ringtone if you want. Andy Moore, Automotive Group Hotline. My man's got a busy weekend on Fox with the start of the IndyCar season. He's got a kid that's going to wheel a truck coming up tomorrow. Staked out, St. Petersburg, Florida, from trackside. And Fox, as I mentioned, our friend Kevin Lee joins us now. Hello, Kev.
Hi, John.
Let me ask you, are you more interested in your own broadcast or what the kid's going to do tomorrow?
Well, I need to stay employed, so I will be most interested in trying to focus on the job. But
the hell with the gig. I think that's awesome tomorrow, buddy. That's so awesome.
Kind of looking into both things, but they kind of go together. It works out that Fox broadcasts that race, so they've already said they need me down on the pit box to be interviewed, which will be something different. And we'll see how it goes. He got exactly 2 laps in practice before it started raining, and they canceled it. And he didn't fit in the truck. He couldn't really turn the wheel. So it will be a bit of a challenge. So they're going to make some adjustments to try to he said this is the toughest vehicle he's ever tried to get in, worse than a Formula car that looks tiny, in a single seater, because he's 6'4", and his knees are in his chin, and he can't turn the wheel in either direction all the way. So they got some ideas, and that might help significantly.
Can they take the floorboard out like the Flintstones?
They might. They might. So it's doable. He went to Charlotte twice and spent 3.5 days working on the fit. The first time it was like, we can't figure it out. We got to fabricate some things, and went back and just trying to make it work. So different dimensions, but it's a really unique opportunity, and Fox is taking good care of us. They gave us an onboard camera.
Yeah.
So he's going to get a lot of coverage in the broadcast, and we'll see how it goes because there's really no expectations. The team is near the back in points most of the time, so they're kind of excited about someone with some road course experience and experience at this track. And it's a great platform for all of the sponsors like Browning Chapman and California Closets. So they're really excited about it. We've got a full suite and then some of people here to cheer them on.
That's Jackson Lee is in the Truck Series race at St. Pete coming up tomorrow. That you can see. Is that on Fox itself or a different level of Fox? What's it on?
It's on Big Fox.
Oh,
it's
man.
on network.
All
so
right.
Basically, the first time he drives a stock car will be on national television because he's done no testing or anything else. And this is a big event because Dario Franchitti is making his comeback and is racing. James Hinchcliffe, because Hinch is in one of the good teams, the Spire team that is owned by the group that owns Andretti. Starting on points, he starts third. So Hinch has got a real good chance to win this race. So does Dario, and that'll be a lot of fun.
How did this come about for Jackson?
We have had sponsors that want him in something here. They love this event. It's the kickoff for IndyCar, and we got to know the local franchise owner of California Closets in Tampa, and they buy a full suite, and we host them, and they said, we really would like him racing something. So he had raced here before in USF, and he did a GT4 sports car a couple of years ago, and there wasn't really anything to race last year. And then when I saw Trucks was available, I thought this is the only place I would put him in cold with no testing or experience because at least he knows the track. And that's going to be a little bit daunting. Someone today in those 3 laps, on the first lap, one guy crushed it and, has to start in a backup because it's something they don't do. They don't do street races. So that was part of the idea that maybe the track knowledge might offset his lack of any kind of knowledge about how a stock car works. So it's a commercial venture, and then it became, well, let's see what he can do. He wants to be a race car driver, so you drive anything that is available to you. And NASCAR, frankly, has more visibility than most of the sports car racing that he does. So we are a fully sponsor-driven organization, so we need to race where he's on television. And there are a few road courses, and that might be something he can do along with the sports car program.
This is a signature moment. It seems like a signature moment for Jackson Lee.
It's a big deal. I think each step is a big time. The first time he raced in USF 2000 on an IndyCar weekend and then moved up to the next level. And the first time he raced at Daytona in a GT4 and the first Lamborghini, when he won at Indianapolis last year, that was a really big deal. But yeah, this is, he's a NASCAR driver now. This is a top professional series. There is prize money involved, and there's an opportunity to help make this work.
Wow. Kevin Lee, there's man, I kind of thinking about it feels cool to be you right now. And then I'm thinking about tomorrow, whether or not I'll judge, I would want to be you dealing with all of that. And I mean, it's got to be incredibly special, but man, there's a lot going on with you coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, it's a bit hectic. We have a lot of guests here, and I don't have time to do a whole lot of that. I'll visit with them during the race tomorrow, but it's the first race of the season. This would be a little easier if it was race 6.
Right.
But there's just a lot of catching up to do for the IndyCar job. So I do IndyCar from the pits, and I'm the host for Indy Next. And there are a lot of new drivers there, some I still haven't met yet, and just trying to get through all of that. So there's a lot of time on television, and then there's a lot of time, just hoping things goes well for the kid in the race car or the race truck. I'm going to call it a car, as most of us do.
Does he have gear for this team at all for sale?
No.
I got to get we got to get another race so I can get some gear, some Truck Series gear.
I mean, it can be made. We do have some shirts that we gave to some sponsors that have all the logos on there. So there is something. And I was impressed that the team made up crew shirts for the team with all of his sponsors on there. So That's nice.
Did the crew were they wondering if he was going to fit into the truck before we found out he didn't fit very well into the truck? Was there a question there at all?
We knew he fit because he went down and did the seat fit, but then it's a matter, what you can't do until you actually drive it is know about turning the wheel. So he's had this before. He had this last summer, the first time he drove with a different team in Lamborghini Super Trofeo, is that he did the first practice, and I was worried because he wasn't very quick. And he said, I just couldn't turn the wheel. So they made an adjustment, and he went 2 seconds faster in the next practice. So, that's kind of what we're hoping for. What we're really hoping for now, since he did not have enough time to figure it out, we're hoping for rain, because that's always the great equalizer. There are teams that have just honestly a little more data and better setups and always run up front in the road courses, but the driver can make more of the difference in the rain. And I don't imagine that a lot of the full-time NASCAR people have done a lot in the rain. So if it rains, put your money on James Hinchcliffe, Dario Franchitti. Colin Brown is a great sports car driver who has raced in NASCAR before, and Jackson would have a better chance there because he has a decent amount of experience in the rain.
Yeah, so he got in there kind of like we would get into back in the day, one of those bumper cars at the fair where you got the steering wheel right there on your crotch. Is that what's going on with him?
Pretty much. And this is an H pattern stick shift. It's not like a paddle shifter that he's used to. So he did that his very first Skip Barber weekend when he was like 14 years old. So it's been 8 or 9 years since he's done that. But it's cool. It's old school. And it's, a high-level professional series, and it's a lot of fun. It's a new experience.
I'm so excited for you guys, man. And I saw that earlier this week, and I saw it on X, and I sent it back out. And I came here today, and I told James, I said, we got to get Kev on because I know the IndyCar season starts, but I'm really, honestly, more focused in on tomorrow for you because I know you and know Jackson, and that gets us all excited. That's pretty cool.
It'll have a good IndyCar feel in this broadcast. Townsend Bell is in the booth. Georgia Henneberry is one of our IndyCar pit reporters. She's working pit lane. And Jamie Little, who works with us on IndyCar sometimes, is the play-by-play host.
Yeah. Wow.
And it's been fun hanging out with Michael Waltrip over the weekend. So that's fun.
Kevin Lee is with us. I should probably get to the St. Pete race to start the IndyCar season coming up on Sunday as well. I've made a lot, I guess, out of the new team and the new situation, I guess, new landscape for Will Power. Is that high on the list of storylines going in to start this season?
Super high. Yeah, I'd say that's right up there along with just Team Penske in general, because they've had so many changes. The season last year was so miserable for just about everyone, and then they move on from the winningest driver in the team's history and bring in a young fellow who I think will do well. I think David Malukas will do well. What's Joseph Newgarden going to be? He was beyond miserable last year, and he had a minor crash in the first practice today. Not big. He was only in the pits for 5 or 10 minutes before they sorted things out. I don't think they really did any significant damage at all, but we think it's a contract year for him. That's big. And then Will Power conveniently is pitted right next to the number 12. So he's going to have to work hard not to pull into the 12 pit. He's driving the 26 for Andretti now. He was not particularly happy today. He said that, the car is just not working today. So that's still going to be a process. I don't think he can just jump in and immediately pick up where he's been at Penske. It's going to take a little time for him to get used to how they set up a car and for him to transfer what he wants in the car.
It's Kevin Lee with us on Fox coming up back-to-back days. He's got his son Jackson Lee in the Truck Series coming up tomorrow. And then, of course, IndyCar started the season, St. Pete coming up on Sunday. Mick Schumacher, right?
Yep.
It seems cool. Does his racing prowess match his name recognition?
Well, you're never going to match that name because his dad is, on the, I don't know how you want to look at it, top 5, top 10 of any kind of racing driver all time. That's very difficult to match, and he's never going to be able to live up with that. Graham Rahal had a good point. He said, I have a little idea what that's like from my dad, but it still pales into comparison to the pressure and the expectations that Mick has had all of his life. But he was an F2 champion, which is a really big deal, and he drove in Formula One. on a team that was not successful. Your team has to be good. So we don't know what Mick is yet. But I was talking to someone I trust with that team, and they said, oh, yeah, he is the real deal. He is going to be a difference maker with his team and help us raise to another level. It's probably going to take him a bit to get comfortable, but I think there is an expectation that, he's a top 10 type of guy this season, which would be good for Ray Hall, Letterman, Lanigan, because they finished, something like 18th and 22nd and 25th in points last year. So he might help raise the standard for that team. And a really nice young man, too. I've enjoyed getting to know him just a little bit so far.
I am looking. I can't help myself from the grid for the Truck Series. So
he is scheduled. He is starting 24th on, they call it the metric, which is a lot of different things. It's basically points.
So is he right there next to the actor, by the way?
Yeah, Frankie's his teammate. I met Frankie today.
Oh,
Frankie,
my God.
Nice guy.
Well, let's explain this. The actor from Malcolm in the Middle is right next to him.
Frankie Muniz is a full-time NASCAR driver. He's the lead driver, the only full-time driver for our team, Team Rayom. Frankie, after he made money acting, decided he wanted to be a race car driver, and he tried to get to IndyCar. He raced in Toyota Atlantics with James Hinchcliffe back in the day, 20 years ago or whatever it was. And unfortunately, they called him Malcolm in the Back because it's hard. He was just starting off scratch against guys that have been go-karting since they were 6 years old. Yeah. And that's a pretty high level. Toyota Atlantics is similar to Indy Lights or Indy Next. So he did that for a little while and decided about 2 or 3 years ago he wanted to give it another go. He's found sponsorship because of the following that he has, and he ran in ARCA, and he ran a full season of trucks last year and is back at it again this season.
Justin Haley's on that grid, too. He's from Indiana, right?
Yeah, he's from Kokomo. Yeah, he ran at the same quarter midget, or he ran at Kokomo. I don't think he's from Kokomo, but he ran at the quarter midget track where Jackson used to race some just a few years before him.
That's Malcolm in the Back.
Yep.
So, hey,
and Malcolm might be in the back tomorrow. He told me, he said, I am going to pull out and I'm starting last. And we had already started talking about that with Jackson because it's going to be a mess. It's going to be chaos. There's going to be a pile up somewhere on lap 1, and we are thinking about just laying back and waiting until the first caution and weed out 5 or 6 trucks. And all of a sudden you go from 36th to 31st. And you just kind of pick your way through. So that's kind of an inner debate with the team as to what they're going to do.
I'm going to hit up California Closets in honor of Jackson Lee, and we are in full Jackson Lee regalia coming up tomorrow afternoon. I'm very excited.
Nice. I like it. Let's have a viewing party.
All right, buddy. Hey, give him my best, and we'll talk to you coming up next week. I'm very happy for you, though, man. Have a great weekend. I know there's a lot going on. Thanks for hopping on here.
Thanks, John. Good to chat.
You got it. Kevin Lee right there. I was watching Kevin Lee last week do the Butler game. Now he's doing the race where his kid is starting next to Malcolm in the Middle in the Truck Series, and then doing the start of the IndyCar season coming up on Sunday. That is our friend Kevin Lee from Trackside, our friend Kevin Lee from Fox on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. What a hell of a way to end or get close to the end of this show on a Friday. Quick break, we'll come back. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan. Johnny with a great idea. Your idea is for your new car experience, your new vehicle experience. Maybe it's not a car, maybe it's a truck. crossover, SUV, whatever you're looking for, my friend Eric Wilson has got it for you. That inventory and the incentive to buy program you're going to find, and why you should love that, here's the reason. It's like a big coupon, big savings coupon for that vehicle of your choice. And then you have the service after the sale that will extend the life of your vehicle. That's exactly what you want. You're going to find it all encompassing, the very best in a vehicle buying experience at one place. My friend Eric Wilson, mark it on your calendar. It's one-stop shopping. Andy Moore, Buick GMC, 131st State Road 37 in Fishers.
The Ride with JMV. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Oh, you're bringing up a little Pearl Jam for me right here. Nothing but the 90s tomorrow night. You guys going to be ready for that? It's funny. The most requests come from the 90s, but I do lose a little bit in terms of the older generational listeners like the 80s a lot better. Now, I will tell you, I reserve the right to do whatever we want at any time, any place. Because that is, in essence, what is the JMV takeover. That's what it's all about. But when you do a 90s weekend, because I know that there are a lot of 90s fans out there, I kind of like to stick to it as much as we possibly can. Now, I'm okay with going all over the map. Because you get me anywhere from the 70s, 80s, through the 90s, and really the early 2000s. You kind of lose me once we get into the social media, the YouTube-created musicians out there. You lose me a little bit, but 3 decades, it's unmatched territory. I pretty much know what you're talking about when you call and you ask for it. Tomorrow night, 6 o'clock, that is the JMV Takeover. I will give you a bit of a heads up. I am going to be in a new studio coming up tomorrow, and I don't quite know how that's going to go just yet. I do know from experience how the new studio the last time went. That was on New Year's Eve, and that took a moment to get used to. So we'll see coming up tomorrow night if this takes a little bit to get used to. But I will say this, the engineers here, they have done an outstanding job in putting this together. And I think most, if not all, of the music studios are now down on the first level. We're on the second level here inside the Radio 1 building. And we know this. You can see this. These studios are state-of-the-art right here where we sit. I know 93 WIBC is down the hall. That's state-of-the-art too. But the music studios are downstairs, and they look really good. So we shall see what happens. And I know all the engineers were in me. They were trying to give me a bit of a tutorial a little bit earlier today on how to handle it. We'll see if I can handle it coming up tomorrow night. JMV Takeover, 6 until midnight. That is coming up tomorrow night on B105.7. Of course, that's in the midst of what is going to be a very busy day. I did want to give a shout-out to Kevin Lee once again. If you're interested tomorrow, and you should be, Kevin Lee's son, Jackson, is going to be wheeling around in the Craftsman Truck Series coming up tomorrow. And as we talked about and kind of joked about, he is going to be on the starting grid tomorrow next to former actor from Malcolm in the Middle and Truck Series driver Frankie Muniz. But he will start on the grid in the Truck Series with, as he mentioned, he had 2 laps. He said, I think he had 2 laps, right? And then had to bail because of the rain down there. And they had to refit the truck for him because he's 6'4" and he's really too big for it. And I think they're going to have to take the floorboard out like the Flintstones. But Kevin Lee's got that broadcast tomorrow on Fox. You can check that out on Fox. So locally on Fox 59 coming up tomorrow. And then IndyCar coming up on Sunday, James.
I think you might actually even be able to say current actor because they're doing a revival or a reboot of Malcolm in the Middle.
Are they really?
Yeah, it's only like a mini 4-episode run or something. It's a mini series, but they're bringing it back real quick.
I was going to ask him, and somebody that is more of a racing fan than I is, because I remember the time when Jason Priestley, the actor from 90210, came on with me a number of times when he was doing the IndyCar thing. And then he had a near-death experience in a wreck. But where does Muniz rank in terms of former actors? And the one that I immediately think about is Jason Priestley, just out of curiosity. All right, quick break. We'll take it coming back. Matt Miller, earlier this week from ESPN Live for the NFL Combine, is going to join us coming up on the other side. We'll get you to the last word, bottom of the hour. And you get a busy day. I'll remind you of that day coming up tomorrow. From start to finish, it should be an exciting afternoon and evening from Cambridge Fieldhouse. The Girls State Finals, presented by the Fever and the Pacers, with 4 classes tomorrow. That reminder and a close out of the show. And Matt Miller is going to join us on the other side. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV.
Well, we're waiting.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
All right, welcome back to the show, you guys. Yeah, state finals. Borden Fremont tomorrow, the Class A game. Eastern Peak and Oak Hill, 2A. Roncalli and Belmont, 3A. And Center Grove and Norwell, 4A. A busy day tomorrow. Hopefully I hear from you guys on the JMV Takeover tomorrow night as well. Should mention this, D'Angelo Pons, the corner for the national champion Hoosiers, 43.5-inch vertical leap. That is the best among all corners tested at the NFL Combine. 43.5. That is slightly better than mine, which is 3.5. He bests me by 40 inches. D'Angelo Pons, 43.5-inch vertical leap, as judged and documented at the NFL Combine going on right now. I should mention this, too. You've got both IU and Purdue in action coming up on Sunday. You have IU Michigan State, 2:45 coverage, 93 WIBC, 3:45 is that tip time. And Boilermakers at Ohio State on Sunday. That is a 1:30 tip time, I believe. Chris Kramer a little bit earlier, Don Fischer a little bit earlier, along with Bob Lovell, the podcast on 1075thefan.com. Truck Series tomorrow at St. Pete. That is on Fox, locally on Fox 59, where Kevin Lee is going to be staked out, and Kevin Lee's son, Jackson Lee, will get his first start in the Truck Series at St. Pete coming up tomorrow. That is worthy of your time again tomorrow. IndyCar starts on Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Mark Janes has it, of course, your voice of IndyCar and the voice of the greatest spectacle in racing as the open wheel IndyCar season begins coming up on Sunday. That is down in St. Pete. A couple of reminders, I believe, at the Dugout from me next Friday with Coors Light. Cannot wait to be back out. The Dugout, which we love, and a shout out to Nick Baxter, big-time CG guy. The Dugout next Friday. Next Wednesday, we're going to be at Hinkle before Creighton and Butler play. I'm going to go out there and christen Hinkle Fieldhouse once again with my glorious jumpers. And we'll be doing this show out there live because I think we bail at 5:30. So we'll have Mark and Nick for you. We'll get into that at 5:30, but it will be live at Hinkle Fieldhouse before Creighton and Butler play. That is coming up next Wednesday. Meantime, James, great job out of you, too. And again, the Girls State Finals coming up tomorrow. You guys enjoy that. JMV Takeover coming up tomorrow night, B105.7. That will be at 6 o'clock, 6 until midnight, B105.7 coming up tomorrow night. Our conversation right now from the NFL Combine with ESPN's Matt Miller. Meantime, at the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline, he is here in town. He's a part of the NFL Combine for ESPN, the draft analyst at NFL Draft Scout. You can find him on X. It is Matt Miller. So where'd you have dinner here in town last night, Matt?
I'm gonna be honest. I ordered room service. I had a hard travel day yesterday, and it was time to just go to bed. This is my 15th combine, I think.
Yeah.
So one lesson you learned is, sometimes you just gotta accept your losses and try again the next day. So
that is well done, brother.
We've got Elmo's lined up tonight, so it should be good.
Did you at least throw down a couple of cocktails on your way to bedtime last night? Come on, tell me that's true.
Here's the thing. I'm getting old. I got to save my voice. And one thing I've learned is that alcohol is not great for your voice. So
I don't know who the hell told you that.
You guys. Yeah, right?
When did you learn this? I've been here for 25 years, and it's only helped it out, Matt. Damn, really?
Well, okay. Well, never mind. Tonight I'm getting after it. I've been doing it wrong.
Hey, the one focus, because obviously with the Colts not having a first rounder, there wasn't really a lot at the top of the level to talk about. I know that they still have important picks, but we'll keep that on the side right now. I want to talk about the 9 IU players from the national championship Hoosier squad involved in this NFL Combine, starting with from Fernando Mendoza. He, as a quarterback, reminds you of whom, if that's fair to ask to start here?
Yeah, so I'll start here. He reminds me of Joe Burrow in terms of his poise and his toughness. how well he plays in the pocket, how well he plays after he's been roughed up a little bit by a team. So from a demeanor standpoint, he reminds me of Joe Burrow. From a skill standpoint, I think it's maybe a little bit of like a juiced up Matt Ryan, like a thicker Matt Ryan. But I love Mendoza. He's like number 2 overall player in the class, number 1 quarterback by a mile. He should be the number 1 pick by the Raiders. That don't even think about it. Like, you could write the card today and just put it in your safe until April 24th and turn that sucker in at 8 o'clock. I mean, he should be the first pick, and he's deserving of one. This isn't just, he's not a consolation prize. He's a damn good quarterback, and we saw that in the way that he, elevated his play this year at Indiana.
Given all that's going on in Vegas now and this reset that we have seen, most recently, if you're talking about via ownership or even on the sideline, is this a destination location? I mean, if you're number 1 overall, anything's a destination location, but is this a spot that is going to be a good landing position to thrive for him in your estimation?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think we're overstating the role of Tom Brady as a minority owner. I think that gets brought up way too much, but he's a good resource, right? It's good to have him there. I think you look at, what they're doing with Clint Kubiak as a coach, as someone that's going to be innovative offensively. I have a lot of trust in the front office that they have there. John Spytek is a good scout. I do. And so then you have, you got Brock Bowers. He's your number 1 target. You've got Ashton Genty, who was a blue chip running back coming out last year. The key is they have to build this team up now. You got to build up the offensive line because that is a huge issue. And that will be the difference between Mendoza having success and not, honestly. Is Brock, is Colton Miller going to be healthy? What are they doing at right tackle? What are they doing at guard? Jackson Powers Johnson was a second-round pick. He's got to become a guy for them. Quality starter. He's been hurt a lot. So there are pieces there that if they could just stay healthy, the team could be good. But I do think it's a fair question of at 1, you're going to take Mendoza. What are you doing at 36 to support him? Because your receivers are you don't have a number 1 receiver. You got to address the defensive end position. Probably got to address the corner position. So it's not probably going to be a quick turnaround, but I do think it's a good destination for him.
That is Matt Miller of ESPN, NFL draft analyst. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Omar Cooper Jr. seems to be running up the charts right now. You got both he and Elijah Surratt out of IU at the wide receiver position that are a part of this combine. What do you like about both?
Yeah, and so I have Omar Cooper as my number 4 receiver, a top 20 player. I'm in love with his game. And I'm not sure why that's not a consensus opinion. 6 foot, 200 pounds, a great middle of the field receiver with yak ability. We saw in 2024 he played on the outside. 2025 he plays in the slot. So you have alignment versatility. He's tough as hell going over the middle. I don't know what's not to like other than the fact that he's 6 foot, 200 pounds. I think he'll run fairly well this week if he does test. I'm in love with his game, and I think he's the guy that as people dig into the tape more, they're going to like him. He's just such a well-rounded wide receiver. And you mentioned Surratt. That's another dude that I'm a big fan of. It's funny, before the year, I thought Surratt was going to be the guy. You see him come in with, 6'2", 210. I thought he would probably be the guy that would elevate with Fernando coming in. But, Cooper was just such a big-time player week in and week out.
If they don't hit up the speed chart in a fashion in which people that are evaluating NFL-wise hope, what's the overall effect, especially when you're talking about 2 elite-level pass catchers as we are right now?
Yeah, so, I've been doing this a long time, like we talked about. I try not to overrate speed too much. Puka Nacua ran like a 4.55. Jackson Smith and Jigma ran a 4.55. So speed matters, but being able to get open with good route running and timing, the technique and leverage, those matter a lot as well. And I think when you watch Surratt, he's always open. And some of that is due to athleticism. Some of it's due to size, what he can do in terms of contested catch. I think he does have pretty good speed and cutting ability. Now, is he going to blaze a 4.3? I don't think so. He looks a little tight at times. So he's probably not going to be that type of player, but he certainly has value as a big X wide receiver.
It's Matt Miller who joins us. NFL Combine, he's in town, of course, of ESPN. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. D'Angelo Ponds, what's he mean to you? What you witnessed as a part of the IU defense in that secondary, and what he is going to equate to at the next level?
He is one of my favorite players in the entire draft class, honestly. I love watching him play. the production he had in the slot, what he meant as an emotional leader, all those things, right? It's just I don't think you can say enough about what he meant as a leader, what he meant for that program. We've spent so much time talking about what the offense did, but I think defensively Pons was that guy as well, that kind of got this team over the top a little bit. So I'm a big believer in, nickel corners or starters, and he is pound for pound one of the toughest guys in college football and toughest guys in this draft class. Is he going to test super well? Probably not. He's 5'9", he's maybe about $175, but he could, Tyrann Mathieu, Chris Harris Jr., so many guys have played so well at that slot position and been incredibly valuable. So I love the way he plays. And when that dude's coming off the edge, you'll watch out because he will ear hole you.
He may be outgoing here. I'm not quite sure how they're going to do it, but is there a comparison to be made here locally with Kenny Moore?
I think so. Yeah, I think that's a good comp, right? I mean, and again, that's what everyone's looking for is that guy, that can play from the inside and dominate. And I think Kenny might be just a touch bigger, but it's got to be pretty close.
Aiden Fischer. Does he translate to the next level to you at linebacker?
I think he does as a two-down kind of scrape linebacker. I think he does. I'm looking right now. My grade on him, I put a day 3 on him, but I do like the tape a lot. And finding him, that role where he can be that thumper a little bit. He's a squatty guy. He sorts through the run well. I think his run fits are great. His instincts are great. It's just more about that, ability to unlock and run and get outside the tackle box is probably where he struggles the most.
So Matt Miller is with us. He was at Purdue. He's from Westfield High School. Finished his career as we watched against IU in the Peach Bowl with Oregon. Dylan Thieneman out of Westfield High School. What does he end up to you? Is this a first-round talent, as a lot of people have suggested to me?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been a first-round talent wire to wire. Let's go back to when he was at Oregon. He's a playmaker. He's instinctive. Those of you that watched him run track in high school, this guy was a burner in track. So I think we're going to see good speed from him. Character, instincts, leadership, athletic ability, production. He checks all the boxes. That's everything I want in a safety, right? He's got everything. So I think there were times at Purdue you saw man coverage. He struggled to carry guys a little bit. I thought this past year it was quite a bit better. So understanding, how to use him is key. But, man, he's just a playmaker who's 8 picks in college, over 300 tackles. That's the kind of guy you love.
Where's Caden Curry on your list? Is Caden Curry a part of this? I didn't remember. I'm assuming from Ohio State. Is he at the Combine this weekend, or am I wrong about that? Is he waiting on a pro day?
Yeah, he's here. Yeah.
How do you view Caden Curry? Caden Curry's from a high school where my daughter goes at Center Grove here locally. How does he translate to you to the next level?
Yeah, I've got him as a day 3 player. He's a power end. He's going to be one of those guys probably plays on the right side of the line. More about, stacking up blockers. There's just not the twitch that you want to see. But, my gosh, he was great this past year. I mean, that entire defensive line was. Matt Patricia was phenomenal to them. But I think he has that, some stand-up edge value, really good power coming off the edge. He's a true 6 technique. He's just got to be probably a little bit stronger against the run. And then, if he can learn to open up those hips and be a little more fluid in the pass game.
Appreciate you, Matt.
Thanks so much.
It's Matt Miller right there of ESPN on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline.